This is the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. If you a fan, it's about to go down. I'm about to go to the Krypt, the documentary, and we're just gonna take it from there. I'm your guider, like Lord Drayden. Let's see what this do, y'all. I'm loving this. It's pretty dope. Got my little combat card. Matter of fact, let's check that out real fast. Oh yeah. So I done almost got an hour in since I had this game, man. I've been practicing a little bit. You see, yeah. Sub-Zero, that was my game. Regular Mortal Kombat and Trilogy, let's go. New Cyber was my dude. He gonna be in this Mortal Kombat movie. Thank y'all for checking me out. Thank y'all for tuning in. Let's go. The Krypt. Welcome to the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection Krypt. This actually is my video number 2. So, documentary. Yo, it's so much to do. You got the old music. Y'all know the music was hard on this game back in the day. We got the combat. So, if any fans out there, if y'all need to know stuff, you know, I used to know so much about Mortal Kombat. I still know. I think I'm gonna do videos and all. We're gonna go through it all. I love this. Hold on. But anyways, let's pick up where we left off in the Prepare Yourself. 13% done with the creation of Mortal Kombat. So this is where we left off. And what's so crazy, I just been playing it into pinball games. But anyways, here we go. Prepare Yourself. A small team at a pinball manufacturer hatches a bold idea for a new type of fighting game. Y'all, this is how Mortal Kombat got started. So all you fans out there who wasn't or who didn't get this game and invest in it, I got you. We're going through the Krypt. This is the creation and this is it. Let's do this, y'all. For real. I'm a fan. We're picking up where I left off. 13% done with this. This is 1989. This is the other guy who helped create it. Mortal Kombat, John Tobias. Remember Ed Boon, of course. This is John Tobias, and thank you for tuning in. We're going back and showing all the cool stuff. Let's go.
I was born and raised in Chicago. I grew up on the city's near west side.
Chicago.
Which was, I was maybe a mile and a half away from the United States. It was a fairly rough neighborhood. But from my earliest days, I started drawing. Probably started with a crayon or something. And found myself inspired by cartoons. Anything I saw on TV, I remember Popeye was a big thing that I watched a lot. Seeing Bruce Lee on the Batman television series was a big
Bruce
thing.
Lee, I love
didn't know who he was.
I think
this was when I discovered, he
plays some Bruce Lee role.
That was the birth of my kung fu consciousness. Whenever I watched a TV show that excited me or saw a movie that excited me, the first thing I did
I know about Mortal Kombat, y'all, but let me be quiet and let y'all watch.
And try to retell those stories as comic books. For some reason, the most difficult thing for me was to find stuff to draw on. Paper was at a premium, so whenever I could get paper, I would draw on it. I would draw on the backs of things. I'd draw on magazines, whatever I had. Paper seemed to be expensive. Growing up in the city, graffiti art was a big thing that was happening at the time, especially in the early 80s. A lot of the time, we would do stuff, on the sneak. And then I think we discovered after a while, if you just knock on a door and ask, a lot of the times they'll let you paint a mural on the side of their business or whatever it was. And so we did a lot of murals in the mid-late 80s. But I was a huge comic book reader, both DC and Marvel, and found a lot of inspiration from the comic book artists who were popular at the time. And so, of course, it was my dream to illustrate comic books, and eventually actually got a job doing it, and used that money to kind of pay my way through school. Most of the work I did was for a comic book called The Real Ghostbusters, based on the cartoon that was out at the time. I was still at the American Academy of Art, so I was still in college, and I was still illustrating the Ghostbusters comic book, when a friend of mine who I met at the American Academy of Art named John Vogel got a job at Williams Electronics doing pixel art for video games.
He had gotten a job at Now Comics, and he wanted me to help him with Real Ghostbusters. And I was like, sure. So he got me an interview at Now Comics. Then once I got my job at Williams Bally Midway, Mark Trammell now needs an artist. Who can we get to work with him? And I'm like, I know a guy that's doing the Ghostbusters comic book,
And John called me up and said that they were looking for another artist. When I was hired at Williams, it was to work on Smash TV. And so I interviewed with Mark, I interviewed with Eugene Jarvis,
Amazing guy, amazing artist, working on Smash TV. He came up with this animation that the character, as he exploded, the eyeball came up right facing you in the face. And basically he had to, 3D rotate all this stuff. Like the man was a human 3D rendering system. The guy's a genius.
So Smash TV was a lot of fun to work on, a lot of hand-drawn pixel sprites, very small graphics in terms of the character art that I was creating. I know that in the back of my mind, I still wanted to do comic book art, but I fell in love with video games and the folks that I worked with at Williams, and I knew right away that, hey, this is the place for me.
So that was cool. A little background, a little info on John Tobias, straight out of Chicago. So we're gonna move on. What's that? Let's zoom in and check this out, y'all. John Tobias, first project. So I didn't even know he did this. Wow, that's pretty dope. Smash TV. Oh yeah, that's dope. I heard it was a hit game. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna try to stream it because I'm also into playing retros. I even do Facebook gaming. You can check me out at Non-Stop Video Games on Facebook. The dawn of fighting games. Wow, arcade games changed forever in 1991. Street Fighter, yeah. Let's go, y'all. You got y'all spot. Mortal Kombat, keeping it real. Y'all see this? This is on Mortal Kombat, so yeah. The factory floor. Oh man, assigned small offices, a pinball factory. Let's go, y'all. Check this out. It's my first time seeing this. I'm learning with y'all, so let's do this.
North California Avenue went back to the 40s. That's where Harry Williams and Lynn Durant had started United Manufacturing.
I was always obviously a big fan of Midway, and I always knew it was on California, and I would drive by and it's like, oh, that's this magic place, and that's where these amazing games were made.
It was weird. It's very Chicago. It's gritty. The paint is from it's government green from 1947.
It was in the pinball factory.
So you walk into the front door and through the factory to get to our offices in the back.
I mean, within a space of 20 feet, you go from silence to cacophony.
It was like an assembly line.
There were just Terminator 2s, just hundreds of them in line being developed, and all the sounds going off, terminated, and all the explosions going off. I was gobsmacked.
Miles and miles of wires and
a lot of fumes from the in-house plating facility, the stamping machines, the burning soldering irons.
Everything smacking into itself, just all these sounds. And
they actually had 50-ton metal presses stamping out pinball legs.
The factory still had dirt floor.
Throw things on the floor because somebody's going to come by and sweep it up.
So you have this catacomb.
At night when you're leaving, the lights are down, and it's like, wow, this would be a great setting for a horror movie or something.
And being a programmer, a lot of times we worked at night. That's when the rats would come out. They would grow to the size of a small cat. But I remember the vending machines, rats could jump up and get the product, so it would have to be only the top 2 or 3 rows you could put a candy bar or something. And even then, sometimes you would buy something and it would just be a wrapper.
There used to be a cafeteria upstairs with a private chef.
And the food was delicious. They had it down. We never left the building, okay? We had half an hour to suck it up and get out and go back to work.
Then you'd make it to your office. And the offices were pretty Spartan. They were rough.
The work on video games happened in what we called downstairs. Upstairs was all of engineering.
Everybody had an office, so it was almost like a dorm.
The first time I remember meeting Ed was when John Vogel and I had shared an office.
So I feel like I was involved with Smash TV and Total Carnage because I could see it being made. Ed Boon, I didn't know anything about him. I mean, he was a programmer in the pinball department at that point.
Ed was coming down from the pinball department to work in the video game department.
To work on high-impact football with Eugene. Right next door to me, there was a double office, and it had John Tobias and John Vogel.
And there was a doorway between the 2 offices that was kind of kept closed. He cranked his music really loud, and I remember he poked his head in, and he said, "Hey, is that too loud? Is the music too loud?" And we said, "It's a little loud." So he went in and like lowered the music, and he came back, he's like, "Is that too loud?" So anyway, that's the first time I met Ed. And after that, I think Ed started hanging around with the group of us, and we all kind of became fast friends with him.
And I was mainly software. Those guys were mainly art. So, we had different perspectives and whatnot, just as any group of, guys in their 20s. A lot of conversations started up about movies and video games and wouldn't it be cool and things like that.
You could hear conversations of all the different games going on. There was only like 2 or 3 games going on. And then we would all kind of like give each other ideas for stuff. It was a very collaborative environment.
The environment was beautiful. Good enough to make a video game, and
it didn't feel like a job.
All the magic that was happening there. Somehow the walls kind of
thank you for tuning in. Feel free. Leave any comments, anything. I'm in the box with y'all because this is my first time seeing this. So I'm just going through the documentary on the Mortal Kombat collection. So thank you for tuning in. And that was the factory floor video. So next, Ed and John Hatchett playing. Let's check this out, man. This is dope to me. I'm just sitting back watching. And I'm in the chat box, so let's go.
At that point, John was finishing Total Carnage and I was finishing Super High Impact.
I eat quarterback for breakfast.
When we started to talk about what would become Mortal Kombat, I think the initial conversation was about, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do a one-on-one fighting game?
John and I were talking about a game called Street Fighter, who had really big characters. The thing that stood out for us about Street Fighter was they had really big characters on the screen.
I think for me it was anything to get away from the little tiny character sprites that I had done in the last 2 games.
And we were saying, how cool would it be to have our digitized characters?
Street Fighter was kind of fantastical hand animation, beautiful stuff, but their vision was, let's take this photorealistic system we have now and have a photorealistic fighting game.
For me, it was the opportunity to take all this inspiration from all the kung fu films that I grew up watching and kind of throwing it into a game.
The conversation went towards Jean-Claude Van Damme. At some point, just fixated on the idea of doing a photorealistic Van Damme fighting game. And we put a presentation together when we gave it to Roger Sharp.
We're thinking of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Let's see if he's interested.
The reason we made a video to pitch to Jean-Claude Van Damme was because another team at Midway had done the same thing with Terminator arcade game as well as Revolution X to Aerosmith. And so we decided just to go that route because they were having success with doing that. We found the movie Bloodsport, and we basically grabbed a number of frames of him just kind of getting into a fighting stance pose, and we put the power bars and we kind of mocked up what a generic fighting game screen. And again, just to give him the idea of what the game would look like, how he would be the star, and how realistic the graphics would be.
And I reached out, and it wasn't a no. Whether or not things didn't happen quickly enough, I don't think that it was ever like a door closed. John and Ed thought, Roger, just forget it. Because I think we just kind of left it.
So that was just kind of like the way that you would pitch an idea. But as far as to management, my recollection was that we never gave a formal presentation. Street Fighter was really big, and when we said we want to do a fighting game like this with our graphics, there wasn't much convincing that needed to be done. It was, yes, that obviously is a really cool idea.
I thought it was a fantastic idea, and I knew that I had to still finish Total Carnage, and I know Ed was still working on High Impact.
Touchdown!
But I think that was the beginning of the conversation.
Maybe our next game could be this fighting game.
Alrighty, pretty dope. Let's go. Fearsome Force. Let's check out the video. Development teams at Midway were quite small but extremely passionate. The core team that brought Mortal Kombat to life was 4 people. Ed Boon, John Tobias, John Vogel, and Dan Fordy.
The team on Mortal Kombat 1 was 4 of us.
My name is Ed Boon. I'm co-designer and programmer. My name's Dan Forden, and I do sound and music. John Vogel, background special effects. John Tobias, and co-designer and lead artist.
There was other sort of support staff, but that had to do more with like the cabinet and the wiring.
A team being composed of, I think, 4, 5, 6 people was not uncommon.
You were in one of 2 categories: programmer or artist, and that was basically it. Everything felt like, being in a rock band or something. Just a very few number of guys. He's guitar, he's drum, he's we all had our own jobs to do, and we'd fight with each other, and we'd hang out with each other and go see movies with each other and stuff. And
certainly when I started working on Smash TV, it was myself, Mark Turmel, and I think there was maybe one other programmer at the time, and then Eugene Jarvis eventually came on.
Partly it was just the simplicity of the games of that era. 8-bit, pixel art, that a lot of the animation was just done with graph paper. Say Defender, all the animations of that game could be done in a week.
A lot of people think that, somebody up high says you're going to make a fighting game and you're going to call it Mortal Kombat and it's going to look like this, and then we go, okay, and do it. That's not how it worked at all.
It's a bit of the Wild West. There wasn't rules. There wasn't any, this is how you make a video game. Everybody made it differently. And as long as cool new stuff was showing up on your screen every once in a while, management would, peek their head in. Oh, you got fatalities going. Good job. And then they'd leave and you just continue with it.
Win. It was so pure. You didn't have to, have a committee meeting every time you wanted to add a feature. And
things were so loose back then. There wasn't really a workflow. It was like, hey, we need to get something done. Just do it.
It was just like, yeah, let's try this out, and see if it works.
And I think maybe a part of it was also that I wasn't conscious of might have been to keep costs down. I know what my salary was at the time. I don't know what Ed's salary was, but I have to believe that the development of MK in terms of the cost of us had to have been, I don't know, not much. And I remember at the end of my first year working at Midway, I was doing my taxes. My dad was helping me do my taxes. When I started at Williams, I was making $19,000 a year. He knew the hours I was putting in, and we did the math, and I was making probably $2 an hour is what I was making working at Williams. And I didn't care. I loved the work so much.
I know it's not a popular topic, but like, the overnighters and the, going out for breakfast, nobody told us to do that. Nobody said, stay till midnight tonight. If anything, they were, you guys are burning yourselves out and you gotta take it easy or something. So.
Because of the schedules and because of how few people there were, and we were all playing multiple roles, wore multiple hats, that there was just too much work. And it wasn't like we were being made to do this. It was an art, it was a craft, and it was a labor of love. So we were so passionate that we spent, all of our waking hours and our sleeping hours in the studio.
Some people look back and they go, oh, that was abuse or something like that. It's like, no, we were guys in our 20s who were motivated to do something cool. You were working on Liu Kang's, flying kick, and it was feeling good, and you wanted to keep perfecting it, and it was my obsession. It was like being paid to do a hobby. If a band is up all night learning a song, they want to nail it, and it's the exact same thing. It's completely self-motivated.
Back then, it was nothing but fun. It was just, working there was just hilarious. The secret sauce was basically we were just a bunch of knuckleheads doing whatever we wanted, and we were happy.
Okay, that was dope. The Fearsome Foursome, 1991. That's retro, that's classic. The first sketches, we get to zoom in and see these were the first Mortal Kombat sketches ever. It's pretty dope, man. There was 6. Leo. I'm just zooming through. That's what's up. For real. Yo, thank you for tapping in. We going through. Those is the first sketches of Mortal Kombat. So, in the early 1992 by John Tobias, the creator of Mortal Kombat. So, this is designing the legends to make sure that the characters stood out from each other on screen. The Midway team needed the blood colors and simple shapes. Let's check this out, y'all. Let's see how
my job on MK1 was basically to do backgrounds. Like, John would do characters and I would do the backgrounds. Things were very simple back then, you know, like.
One more time.
He would choose which frames he wanted to use and then cut the background away from the characters, and that was his job, you know.
Literally after we shot the footage, I think maybe that night or the next day, I started stripping frames right away. We did a lot of playing around with lighting. We were just sort of discovering. I think we probably taped more than we needed just to make sure that we got enough coverage.
I remember after the Sonya's leg grab, having to say something along the lines of, you know, trust us, it's going to be really cool. The image was clear in my head. Sometimes we forget that it's not inside everybody's head.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, now once from the very middle, all you have to do is just land right there.
Can you do that, or is that
The beginning part.
She should do it from the stance.
Right.
We were trying to get a film-like quality, but we wanted to just amp it up a little bit. And once we realized that pumping up colors really attracted people to our games, that was, you know, also our trademark.
A lot of the character design that I did for Mortal Kombat was based on the limitations of the hardware. So I knew that we had a limited color palette that we could work with. I knew that you know, the pixel resolution kind of restricted what we were capable of doing. So bold colors, simple shapes would distinguish one character from another would be important. And I knew that a color palette that would distinguish one character from another was also important. And I was careful not to repeat those things.
You know, the thing about the ninjas was, you know, the nature of them. As you know, there were palette swaps of each other. It was all to save memory. You know, it was a very precious thing in our arcade games. And so Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they were the same character with different colors. You know, John wrote this amazing backstory behind them, making them enemies, and that added to the mystique of the characters.
One of the pages of my notebook I had scribbled, okay, here are the characters and here are their archetypes. I knew that, well, we need a hero, we need a villain, we need a sidekick, we need all these things. I was a big Joseph Campbell fan. I had read his books and I was aware of the hero's journey and the character archetypes that he had sort of outlined. I thought, okay, well, if we could tell implicit story through character archetypes, the players might sort of almost subconsciously relate to the characters in a particular way. So that played a part in sort of the character choices we made. I don't recall exactly why we did some characters and not others. I know that we were limited with the number of characters we could do. A few of them I remember not using. One of them was a character called Minamoto Yoshitsune. It was based on a Japanese mythological character. And another one was called Rakuro, who was based on, I think, a Japanese mythological beasts. Those two characters didn't make it in. I think part of it was because the names became a big deal for us. It's like, you know, how does this name roll off the tongue? You know, if a name was too long, we knew it was going to be difficult to display on the health meters. It was usually silly things like that would play a part in some of the choices we made.
Most of the characters' names came from John Tobias. A couple of the characters, he didn't have a name written down for them. He had Ninja 1 and Ninja 2. I was a little bit more of like a simple superhero mindset, so I started calling them Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Those simple names were kind of like my influence, but the authentic, cool names, Goro, Shang Tsung, Kano, Raiden, you know, that was John's deal.
For Mortal Kombat 1, there wasn't a lot in the way of concept art that we did. Conceptualization was just limited to just scribblings in a notepad.
I don't remember many, if any, drawings of backgrounds, but there may have been some. I just remember kind of like I said, just winging it and doing whatever. Like John would say, I'd like a dungeon or something, and that became Goro's lair, you know. I had already learned how to do the parallax scrolling stuff from Terminator 2, so that worked out well with doing parallax stuff for Mortal Kombat as well. I know there was one specific background that he wanted, and that was with statues, the statue background. Just make something look cool. That was basically the rule. I went to Chinatown, and just to get references and stuff, there would be, you know, an interesting vase, and I would video that vase, and then I use that, and that's Shang Tsung's one of Shang Tsung's thrones is like the vase, you know. There's the dragon that was sitting on Ken Fedesna's desk. I just said, hey, can I video that? And he's like, cool. So I grabbed it off his desk, took it to my office, and grabbed it. That's like in one of the backgrounds, and there's two of them, you know. And then there's the pagoda in Chinatown that I videoed that and used that as, you know, the courtyard, I guess we call it. I think, you know, Shang Tsung is also in another chair, and it's that big roof thing. That's from Chicago. That's from Chinatown. So sometimes it meant opening a book and going, oh, that's a cool Chinese thing. You know, get the camera, take video of it, and use that. There are things from books in Mortal Kombat 1. You know, I just went out and grabbed stuff. What looks cool? Kind of a guerrilla artsy sort of way. It wasn't really planned all that much back then.
Well, alrighty, that was cool, man. Moving on to the next. A world begins to take shape. With a few simple sketches, John Tobias took the first steps. Let's see. So these sketches right here, the dungeon, okay, they told us that in a little video. Track mode, it's pretty cool. Creating a monster. Goro. Prince Gordo wins. So let's see what the buttons do. Wow. Pretty cool how they put them in a game. Let's go. Perfecting the field thanks to internal playtesting. Let's go.
One of the really cool things about Mortal Kombat and about some of the really great games, if you have a really great winning concept, often, you know, they got that game running in like a month. A lot of modern games, it seems like they spend all their time in this graphical wilderness trying to get everything looking so cool, and then they've got like 3 weeks left to figure out what the game is.
We had a very fast iteration. I would get art from John, you know, we put it in, and an hour later, we were playing it.
Raiden wins.
The first time you play it, you just go, this is incredible. You knew you were on the right course.
Ed was like just eager to have people in and give him feedback on stuff.
A lot of times it was just, you know, you'd have someone in your office to look at something and they go, hey, what about this? And then, you know, maybe that's a good idea.
Ideas could come and be turned into reality in the same day.
Yeah, in fact, I remember we would record a little bit of footage.
Okay, one more time. All right, that's good.
And it wasn't until Ed actually got the frames and could get them in the game, not until that point would we know that we were making the right choices.
When we were making this game, Street Fighter II was the big rage, and I was a huge admirer of that game. At the same time, I felt like there was a little bit more ceiling room in terms of how outrageous you can get with the moves. We wanted characters using magic, disappearing, teleporting, doing all these kind of unpredictable things. And a lot of the moves were constructed from kind of almost like scraps. Kano's ball was from his flipping animation. Scorpion's teleport was from his jump punch animation.
Scorpion throwing a spear and pulling somebody in,
It was something that I remember I thought of that was just an outrageous move that wasn't seen in any other fighting game.
Right, although we used to try to do the wind up and throw was usually like 5 frames maybe. Like if you went like something like that.
It was one of those spur of the moment, inspirational ideas that ended up becoming like very signature, very iconic to Mortal Kombat.
The way he was implementing them was so interesting because he uses the frames of animation, and he was, as a programmer, would move them around to do things. Like he would define like how things animated across the screen.
When we did the Liu Kang flying kick, you got to stop him once he makes contact, and it'll make the impact feel like it's a lot more intense and more forceful. Iterating again and again how important it is that we get the timing of all these things correct.
Other than, how John would define what the actual frames of animation were, Ed defined how things moved around.
There's little nuances that are put into the game that a lot of players don't identify, but they just know that it feels good, and they're not sure why.
I think that was a hard lesson to learn back in the day of, hey, I want this animation to be really smooth and I want it to be like 100 frames. And it's like, no, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And it has to feel good.
Like, it's got to have impact. Impact and drama, that's what people are going to respond to.
Get over here, the uppercut was such a big, ridiculous reaction.
Getting the animation of the character launching them into the air, putting the blood on it, being knocked down, and
they shake the screen.
And the sound call that Dan Forden did.
It's like, we need like a really big sound for a hit. It's like, okay, so I made like a really big sound for a hit. The scream of the attacker. The victim, yelling as he flies away. Put all that stuff together, it's like, boom. It's like, oh my God.
I remember we were just walking around just doing uppercuts again and again and going, God, that feels so good. That feels so good.
That's how people knew when something was cool in any game. People were going to be like, holy smokes. And now you have something. And then, so that, and then the fatality.
Like, fatalities were the big thing that made us a hit.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. That was cool. Perfecting the field. Okay, get over here. There's Scorpion's performance capture. Ed Boon exclaimed. Let's go and see what he's talking about, man.
You know what would be a cool ass move?
One more time. Alright, that's cool.
Do ninjas ever have this little...
That was cool, man. What was that?
You pull something like an arrow or whatever, it's stuck into the other guy, and it dragged him across the thing.
Didn't you say?
Right, although we used to try to do the wind up and throw is usually like 5 frames maybe. Like if you went like
yeah, something like that. You can do the minor. Maybe something more like you do like this, because you know what I'll do? I'll like trail the rope.
Right. Can you make where you throw it the plane? Like I want the thing to hit the guy in the chest, you know? Because we have a bunch of frames we want from being that, and we use that as a drag. So when you stop, your arm is parallel with your chest as opposed to way down here.
Okay, so try to do it chest level.
Okay.
A little bit more of a wind up. And that would be alright, because I could do like a little thing in the rope more like this, like it's like a little snake thing. Oh, you know what? Wait, you know what we should do? After he does that, we should have him do.
Well, I think he ought to like a
yeah, okay. So, do the throw, and then we need some kind of throw back.
Put your hands together and do that.
Okay. Yeah.
When you try to wind up with a little more like right now you're kind of just going.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, one more time.
Too many butts. Fatal Attraction. You know what it was. It sure was.
Raiden wins.
Street Fighter had this feature which I loved and hated at the same time. You can get your opponent dizzy. I loved the fact when I was the aggressor and saw my opponent dizzy, you're almost like salivating at this free hit that you get. And then I hated the idea of being the victim. I put the dizzy feature at the end of the fight. You just get like one last hit. And everybody would do an uppercut as your kind of like payoff. We had a feature that we had dropped in the game where Shang Tsung, when he would defeat you, he would take a sword out and he would like cut your head off. And we weren't going to use it because we were out of space, but we still had the animations of all the characters falling to their knees without a head. One day I just kind of piecemealed the idea of Johnny Cage uppercutting the opponent with this uppercut animation and then using the animations of the character with his head, you know, cut off.
Johnny Cage wins. Flawless victory fatality.
I showed it to John, I showed it to the rest of the team, and everybody lost their mind, and we have to do this. The fact that we gave the players the ability to actually perform this kind of death blow, this kind of killing move, was really the birth of that idea. Some people were kind of like saying, I don't think we can get away with, you know, letting the player kill the other player. So we showed it to management, and they loved it.
I was surprised that we could include the level of you know, blood spattering around that we did, but of course, you know, when I was working on Mortal Kombat, I had just come from Smash TV and Total Carnage, and so, you know, the levels of blood spattering around the screen wasn't new to me.
From that point on, it was, okay, now we got to think of fatalities for all the characters. Some of the later characters, we actually grabbed animations of them, you know, Kano ripping the heart out, Sonya doing the kiss of death and all that. The spine rip was a suggestion from John Tobias, referencing the movie Predator, and he said, why don't we do what they did in Predator where you pull the head out?
It's just like, oh, that was just like, oh my God.
And I remember saying, you know, I think that's probably crossing the line. We can't do it. Again, once we mocked it up, put it into the game, you know, there was no turning back. Everybody was just losing their mind.
And if anything, I felt like there was a bit of encouragement coming from other folks, you know, around the office, just because of the excitement that it drew from the players.
Everybody had to see this. No one had ever seen somebody removing someone's spinal cord. It's interesting. It made it so much more emotional. It just like, you're just like, yeah, you know, it's almost like that barbaric, primal emotion, like, yeah, you know, like.
We never performance captured a fatality.
The arcades used to be packed like
but,
that back in the day.
There were some animations
Over
that
Mortal
we had to
Kombat,
use.
believe it or not, they used to be at the
cartwheel
arcade,
kick.
man. For real.
Whoa. Yeah, let's grab that again, even if we don't use it. We'll use it someplace.
We were both like, wow, we'll find a place for that. When it came time to do Liu Kang's fatality, we just spliced on the uppercut animation at the end of it, and it wasn't disgusting, it wasn't gross, it wasn't shocking.
Liu Kang wins.
And we just kind of reasoned with ourselves to say, well, Liu Kang's the hero, he's a Shaolin monk, he's peaceful, heroes don't kill people, so he just gave him a big uppercut. The process of adding fatalities into the game created so much energy in the whole studio in terms of their excitement for the game that we knew there was no backing out of it at that point.
Again, you're in a very small screen environment. You really have to exaggerate things. You have to make it just outrageous.
Scorpion wins.
We found the Holy Grail. It's like hitting the lottery. You know, it was something that we knew was going to be a signature part of Mortal Kombat.
I always judge a great game by how loud players get when they play. You yell at your friends and laugh, and the volume level is a measure of a good game for me.
And like I said, it was just fun and it was happy, and that may be the secret sauce.
Again, when you see people playing the game and they're losing their minds and they're reacting to it, there's your fuel. Yep. There's your fuel for the next, for the next year to do it. So.
I loved that video, Fatal Attractions. That was pretty dope. What you think, Ted? That's your fuel. Ooh, I like that. People losing their mind. They was losing their mind over Mortal Kombat for a second. Let's go. I'm about to gas up real fast. Smoking something today. I don't even know what it's called. Jack here, Jack her. You ever heard of that before? That's what I'm smoking on here. Smoke weeds. Let's go, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in and checking this out. This for the real fans, though. Who put the K in combat? Oh, let's go out to brainstorm names, including Kumite, Death Blow, and Dragon Attack. The name Mortal Kombat was suggested, but who changed the spelling to K? This is dope,
man. Who put the K in combat?
I did.
John Vogel.
I didn't come up with a name, but the K. This is my story. This is my memory, anyway.
I came up with Mortal and the K instead of a C.
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen? We're going to come up with all the names. We're all going to like them, and Ed's going to hate every one of them. Why? DEFCON is overused. Where? Everywhere. I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, every time you watch War Game.
Ed's probably right behind me, isn't he? Like, oh, no, you didn't.
I think there's different stories going on. This is my recollection. It's been 30 years. We had a bunch of words written on a grease board.
We didn't have a name, so there was a bunch of possibilities, and one of them was Mortal Kombat.
Combat was written, I don't know if it had a K at the time, but Steve Ritchie, he said the words, what about Mortal Kombat?
They had combat on their whiteboard, but they were all a lot younger than me, and I'm not sure they ever heard of the phrase, they fought in Mortal Kombat, meaning somebody's going to die. It is what this game is about. It's Mortal Kombat.
And when he said that, from my perspective, it was like, whoa, there's the name right there. But I don't remember. Do you remember where the K came from?
Yeah, so what I remember was that. And then I think we went to legal with that name, Mortal Kombat, with a C. And they came back and said no, because they couldn't trademark it. Because it was, I guess, a common term. I remember it was John Vogel.
Right.
Who wrote the K.
Yeah.
And in fact, he might have done that before that conversation with the legal department.
As a joke, I was in the room with Ed, and as a joke, I changed the C to a K, and we were like laughing about, that'd be funny, oh, it's so stupid. And then, so I said, all right, and I was putting it back to a C, and he goes, no, leave it, just leave the K. And so that's my memory as how it happened.
No, it was me, because the C was like, I don't know, just look cooler with the K. That's my thoughts.
And then I think we went back to legal and said, what about if it if it has a K. And then they went away, and then they came back and said, yes, you can. If
yeah.
you put a K on it, we can trademark it.
Actually, John Vogel's involvement is does ring a bell for me.
I don't think I was enamored with the K. I thought it was goofy. And then when the realization hit that, well, if we change it with a K, we can use Mortal Kombat, it's like, oh, damn it. We're going to give it, like Vogel was right.
Yeah.
So whether you hate me or love me for it, now C's are now K's.
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll see who put the K in it. We'll see. We're down in the pit. Here's the cameos. The sound of Mortal Kombat. Dan Ford. Let's go. Let's check you out, dog.
This is the sound area.
Dope, bro.
This is where they make all the sounds for the games.
I am an audio director here at NetherRealm. The sound guy, gotta get the voices in.
Dan shows you cool stuff every couple of days. He just comes in and you go, great, this is awesome.
And he's a lot like Ed, where I just have this confidence that, he's going to go away and come back with something spectacular.
That's the Johnny Cage Nut Crunch, I believe. Didn't someone make a candy bar, Johnny Cage Nut Crunch bar?
Again, we didn't know what we were doing, so it's just okay, it's a fighting game, a lot of yelling, a lot of pain. I don't think we had enough memory to record, okay, this is Scorpion's voice, this is Sub-Zero, so we just, like the men, we just mixed and matched. And I think Sonya was the only female in the first one, so we had, obviously, a female voice for that, and that was hers. But the rest of them, I think, would just be shared. We just get the talent, which was just people around the studio. It's not like we were hiring people to come in and do this.
We recorded me as the announcer, as Shang Tsung, Liu Kang wins.
Finish him. Liu Kang wins. Fatality.
Fatality. All of those kind of classic sound calls was me, because we didn't have somebody with a better voice. Later on, we found Steve Ritchie, who had a much better voice in terms of like an announcer.
Baraka wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
I did a terrible Bruce Lee impersonation for Liu Kang. I think I did a yell for Kano.
Kano wins.
But I was also the voice of Scorpion, yelling, "Get over here."
Get over here! Excellent. Come here!
I had worked with Dan Forden for many years at the time. I remember there was another sound guy who thought that was the stupidest thing in the world, and it kind of was. Why would a ninja, yell "Get over here"? That's such an American kind of thing.
Come here! Scorpion wins.
The idea was, again, the outrageous presentation. We really wanted to have, just yelling and loudness in general into the game. From something that became with such silly roots and beginnings, you can't imagine Scorpion not having the "Get over here."
Ed would get me, this is back in the days of VHS, right? He would get me a playthrough of the background that I'd be working on. These are the instruments that I have, and look at the background, trying to think of what makes sense musically for this.
You try to imagine the action of playing the game and what the music's gonna do to get you revved up.
Ever since, I don't know, the 70s, early 70s even, but always liked progressive rock a lot. So a friend of mine turned me on to King Crimson in high school, and that's been a love of mine ever since. And so there's no doubt that there's a lot of King Crimson influence in the Mortal Kombat music that I wrote over the years. The very first tune, it's a melody in a diminished scale, harmonized at the fifth. So that sounds like a lot of King Crimson stuff. I think they pretty much liked everything I did. I don't remember doing over too many things. Now and then there would be like, maybe you should try this instead of that, and some sort of corrective feedback, but for the most part, it's just we were just kind of making it up as we went along.
That's dope. He said he was the voice. And boom. The voice said, "Get over here. Come here." I like that. Pretty cool. Pretty dope. If you ain't know that, I guess you just found out today. The first public test when the prototype game was put into a real arcade for a critical play test. The developers got to see real world reactions to all their hard work, both good and bad. And I love that, because I'll be doing my little thug and my little thing, and just like I'm doing this. I love to see it. Both sides of the fence. Let's go! Still in chapter 1, buddy.
Testing a game was always one of the most fun parts of the job.
In the earliest days of Mortal Kombat development, the only place you could play the game was in Ed's office. I would play the game every day. Ed would call me in to try something out, but other people, would walk by Ed's office and see what he was working on and come in and play the game. And it was very valuable feedback, because that feedback was coming from guys like Eugene and Mark Trammell and George Petro and a lot of the other developers in the office at the time. Eventually, we would put a game out in the hallway for anybody to play. And so we'd get pinball designers would come down and play the game. There were folks who worked in the factory would come back and they would play the game. And so we'd watch folks kind of play the game, and we'd take notes on sort of what the reactions were. And then eventually that would lead to our first weekend test.
Testing the game in the arcade was such a critical part of determining what's working and what doesn't work.
Being on test is like one of the best parts, one of the most exciting parts of doing an arcade game.
Our first location test was a weekend test that we did, and that was done at an arcade called Times Square. It was a Friday night, so it was packed. The arcade was packed. And there was a crowd around the Street Fighter game. Street Fighter 2 was out at the time. And I just thought, there's no way these guys are coming over to play our game.
It was like this big event. The whole video game department would go, no matter whose game it was.
You'd roll a blank black cabinet into an arcade and just turn it on.
When we brought the first Mortal Kombat game out on test, there were 6 characters. We didn't have Sonya yet. A whole bunch of things just weren't working. And it was all about just kind of the fundamentals, the feel of it, the reaction to the visual, the reaction to blood.
Thank y'all for stopping in, checking out my stream. Fresh Lovable, Easy T Tyson.
That rush,
Appreciate
that reverie, or the destruction and devastation if something doesn't work out. It's like, oh, we got to fix that. And it hurts. It feels bad.
I remember watching the first player. He was one of the guys from the crowd walking over and looking at the attract mode and then dropping a token in and playing the game. And then I remember he walked over, tapped, fell on the shoulder, called him over, and then the other guy came over, and then they played the game. And then slowly people migrated over.
Whenever you would see a secret move come out, I remember the first time they saw Raiden do the dive move, you'd hear an audible, cheering or gasp. How did you do that? Easily the most enjoyable part for me was seeing and hearing reactions from players.
And at some point, Ed, I think, went in and he did a fatality. Kind of a thing, and then he walked away. Now it's a big frenzy to figure out how do you do that? How do you do that? And that's how people found out about the fatalities. Assuming my memory is correct, but I believe that's how it happened.
We would never perform fatalities in front of people because then someone's going to see you do it, right? Like we wanted to launch the game and have people discover it naturally and organically.
Testing the first Mortal Kombat, there was a certain amount of anonymity, I guess you can say. Like, we could be in an arcade watching with a crowd of other people and be close enough in age to them that we just kind of blend in. You know, what is this new game? And then you would get a candid response. Once you tell them that you worked on the game, then you know, they're not going to say anything negative about it.
Across the street from Times Square was a pizza place. And so we would go across the street, get some pizza, and we would discuss, you know, everything that we saw, what was cool, what was not cool, or, you know, what should we change? You know, hey, that was cool. And it was so much fun.
Seeing that first game on test was so reaffirming that we had something big. I saw players get so excited they just had to run. They just had to run around like in circles.
By the end of that night, we had a pack of players around our game, hooting and hollering and just having a great time.
Players that we saw first see the game on a Friday, we saw them the entire weekend.
And I think at that point I thought, okay, we're gonna be okay.
Outstanding. Yo, I am here, but I will appear once I appear, and I will disappear when I disappear. Yo, what's up, y'all? Thank you for tapping in. That was the first public test. Okay, Lieutenant Blade reporting for duty. The April location test with a work in progress build of the game featured just 6 characters. After seeing players react, the team realized they wanted to add another to the roster. The team then added Sonya, reworking Strikers, background as a Special Forces soldier. Oh yeah. That's what's up. Okay, I'll get my little history in. We got another one, Bone and Tobias. Add Bone and John Tobias' skills, complementing each other extremely well. Both men, as well as team members, explain why they think they made such an effect pair. Let's go, y'all, because that was the power team.
This was our first game that we were doing kind of as the leaders of the games. You know, Mark Trammell was the kind of leader of the Smash TV team, and Eugene was kind of the leader of the High Impact team, along with John Newcomer. And so this was kind of like our first solo project.
I think they have complementary skill sets.
We're symbiotic in a way. Certainly in the first few games, it was just like we just knew what the other person was looking for. And I don't know that we ever, I mean, if we had an argument, it certainly wasn't about the work that we were doing. We just seemed to know what the other person was looking for.
They worked well because they trusted each other's talents enough to say, okay, yeah, you know what you're talking about. Ed took care of all the programming. John took care of all the art.
They just had this unsaid, hey, you know, it'd be fun. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it.
Working with Ed, one of his great strengths were just his focus, I think, and his ability to just grind and get things done. Ed, who was the sole programmer to create that game, in hindsight, was incredible.
For one programmer to do all those games is pretty amazing. And
his door is always open. He wants to hear new ideas. He's dangerously funny, where it just busts me up at least once a day.
He would just crack us up all the time, just his jokes, and he made it easy to work the long hours.
John is a really good storyteller. John has a history in as a comic book artist. So I think that probably contributed to his ability to tell a compact story. The only story we had was a little paragraph that would play underneath the character doing a kata, but that was enough to really intrigue players.
You really gave a shit about it because of the backstory, because about the whole mythology that John Tobias had created. You know, maybe not unlike WWF or something, almost like Star Wars in martial arts.
The first game truly was like an expression of just who we were at the time. You know, we were in our early 20s, the stuff that we consumed growing up as kids, and we just threw it all into the game. There was nobody telling us what to do, how to do it.
I think it was a great partnership, and I think, you know, what can you say? Success beyond belief.
Oh yeah! You got that right. Success beyond belief. Let's go. The cutting room floor. The cutting room floor. The cutting room floor. Jeez. 30 minutes. Let's go. We're still in chapter 1. They got a lot on here because they got a lot of games on here. The big sales pitch. Before Mortal Kombat could prove itself to players, the machines had to be sold to arcade operators. This promotional video for arcade trade show sells the game's strengths, pointing out the blood and fatalities could be disabled. That's messed up. Ding 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 ding.
Fighting games have proven themselves to be strong collectors suitable for a wide range of locations. They embody the most attractive elements of the arcade experience. Characters endowed with mythic powers, full player control, secret moves, and the kind of unbridled, head-to-head competition that compels repeat buy-in. Now from Midway comes Mortal Kombat. It captures the most popular elements of the fighting game and adds more. More control, more powerful characters, more depth, more secret moves, and advanced digitized graphics delivering the most realistic fighting action available. Begin Mortal Kombat by choosing one of 7 characters, each boasting an arsenal of unique talents. There's Johnny Cage, the brash Hollywood movie star. Kano, thief and mercenary. Raiden, the mythical thunder god. Liu Kang, the fighting Shaolin monk. Scorpion, a ninja warrior bent on revenge. Sub-Zero, the ultimate assassin. And Sonya, U.S. Special Forces soldier. Each player has 5 basic moves corresponding to the 5 action buttons. High punch. High kick. Low punch. Low kick. And a block. In addition to these moves, players will continue to discover new joystick button combinations. Each new technique provides another competitive edge. For example, moving the joystick away from your opponent while pressing the low kick button will result in this sweep kick. Moving the joystick straight down will put the player in a crouch. By then releasing the joystick and pressing low punch, you'll administer a devastating uppercut.
Johnny Cage wins. Excellent.
Secret moves play a big part in the success of any fighting game. Collections soar as players strive to develop a character's full fighting potential. Mortal Kombat has several times more secret moves than the nearest competitor. The button joystick combinations required to execute these moves are different for each character, as are the moves themselves. And each character's arsenal of secret moves offers unique tactical advantages. If you learn one of Sonya's secret moves, you'll be able to perform this devastating scissor throw. Learning to activate Raiden's secret weapon lets you fire lightning bolts at your opponents.
Raiden wins.
Victory is achieved by winning 2 out of 3 rounds. Players losing a match will have to buy in to continue.
Liu Kang wins.
Finally, winning 3 matches against paired adversaries will put you in the ring opposite Goro, a 4-armed, unstoppable titan, half human, half dragon.
Okay, unstoppable titan. I know, but
should
sure.
Goro be subdued, you'll engage the most
I knew he
deceptive
was half,
and
he was
powerful
half
opponent
dragon.
of all, Shang Tsung, the bloodthirsty emperor,
That was my
capable of
boy.
instantly becoming any fighter he chooses.
That's wild.
Conquer Shang Tsung, and you will have joined unfrequented ranks. Those who have battled all adversaries, yet survived.
Fighting Shang Tsung like fighting 100 ghosts. Put it that way. Test your might. That's dope.
Every
2
5
players.
matches during both 1 and 2 player games, you'll have a chance to test your strength and win bonus points by smashing progressively harder objects. Two-player mode allows true head-to-head combat. Players must rely on their fighting abilities, as well as a knowledge of their character's strengths, as they are matched against an opponent with different, but equally lethal, abilities. Each player selects a character and the match begins.
I just seen
Player
Santa
losing
Claus in the
best of
rain
three
there.
match will have the option of buying in to continue. The winning player will continue to play as long as he maintains a string of victories. Loser pays, winner stays. From a technical standpoint, operators will find even more to like. Mortal Kombat employs Midway's exclusive diagnostic package and a sensitive yet durable 8-way microswitch joystick. In addition, operators will want to be aware of a dip switch setting we've included, allowing them to temper the game to fit the requirements of a location. By simply flipping a switch on the CPU board, you're able to remove any depictions of blood that would otherwise appear in the game. Another dip switch will disable the most graphic secret moves. In this way, operators can be sure they're matching the game to the disposition of their clientele. Mortal Kombat is quite simply the most complete video fighting game available. It boasts the industry's most realistic graphics, digitized images of real martial arts experts, heroic characters more powerful than those found on any other fighting game, secret moves to learn and master, and fierce battles against titanic adversaries. All of these elements combine to make this game powerfully unique, the world's most advanced interactive fighting experience.
That's hardcore. I was getting it. Now Mortal Kombat came out. Oh my gosh, it was over with for real. Y'all already know. I knew back then. Guess it's the end of this video. So moving on. What's next? The big sales pitch. Mortal Kombat version 1.0. Okay. The power of secrets. Oh yeah, this guy has so many secrets.
Fighting games of that era kind of all had this level of secrecy to them. Mortal Kombat, I think, took that to a very extreme level.
You had to guess like the moves and how to figure out the codes.
I think Street Fighter did something like that, right? They didn't document any of the moves, so we took that same approach.
I think not having a move list, there was so much to explore and you had no idea of what you were still missing. It was another thing, it built up so much mystique to the game.
But then we kind of extended it, right, with the fatalities and whatnots. Especially at the end with the character Dizzy, there was a certain amount of, what are you going to do? You would see them trying to trigger something else. They knew that there was something secret in there.
The announcer's like, finish him! And you go up and go, boom! And you're like, damn it! I screwed up the fatality. It's like the worst feeling in the world.
And, everyone was playing as Kano because in the early days before people, knew what most of the moves were, Kano's moves were just, I don't know, move the joystick in a circle real fast and he'll turn into a ball and do it, or hit block and mash the buttons, I don't know.
First character I played was Kano, and I found the ball attack and the knife throw, and within the first day I found the fatality too.
Kano wins.
I was finding stuff right away.
I remember being in your office, and I remember you showing me what the button combinations were, and then you have to be standing this far away from the other character. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way anybody's going to figure this out. No one's ever going to do this. And literally, like the first weekend, they figured it out right away. Yeah.
You know, the fatalities and special moves and things, like those were things that you kind of had to trade around.
Because you'd hear people chattering like, oh, there's this move, and not having the internet at the time to go to, it made it very social.
If you knew something that wasn't, widespread knowledge, you could take that down to the arcade and pull it out on somebody and really blow some mind.
So a lot of hand watching. Where did you stand? The most premium spots are literally right behind it, like right between two people, or on the corners, because those are the only spots where you were able to see the screen and people's hands at the same time.
There was so much in there, and it really requires a fan base to come together and share, to work together to play them and solve them and uncover the secrets and all that stuff.
I was always obsessed with those kinds of things. I was a big fan of Street Fighter, and there was this rumor that was not true, that there was a character in there called Shenlong. And I remember when we had started this game thinking, we have to have a real secret character. And so there was a Sunday, and Scorpion was yellow, Sub-Zero was blue, and I went into the art program and tinted him green, made up these crazy rules in terms of how to find him, made him jump out occasionally and kind of tease you with his existence. Put it together in one day, didn't even tell John about it, and was just kind of wondering how many people are going to pick up on this. It became a bit of like a Bigfoot. Some people had sightings and some people didn't, because there was this one that was real and was rather difficult to find. It could give players a little bit of creative license to come up with something and say that they did see something else happening in the game.
The level of secrets that happened in those first few Mortal Kombat games kind of corresponds with the rise of the internet. And people started trading around like, hey, here's a list of, I think these are fatalities.
I remember going home to my dad's house, and he had internet. He had a CompuServe account. And I started just learning as much as I could. And I'm like, Dad, can I go back to the arcade? I want to try some of this stuff.
I made it my mission to test all that stuff out. And that became my calling. We need to investigate.
And I published my first FAQ, and it is the most inaccurate piece of junk that is available. It's shameful, but it's where I started.
And then all these urban legends about Ermac and all these other alleged characters, that it's kind of like how the kids used to say back in the day, the negative worlds in Mario Brothers, and Mario could go skiing. It's that kind of the kid equivalent of water cooler conversations.
People would come up with lore, lies
right.
of
right.
I did this and that happened, and everybody's and we just shut up.
A friend of mine in high school said he was cousins with someone who filmed for the game, and that there was a secret character that they had filmed. So I put it in my FAQ, and I trusted him, and found out way later he was just messing with me.
The people feeding in things that they'd want to see in the game would kind of blend in with what was really there. Sometimes you'd see a move and then it was gone. You'd be like, I swear this was in there. Did that really happen? There was no way to capture it.
A friend of mine, his little brother, was playing the game and told me about Kano's laser beam.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember telling my friend's younger brother, there's no laser beam. He's like, no, I saw it. And so I know he's mistaken with what, I don't know what he saw, but he didn't see that. This mythology was being built by the player base. I think we understood that pretty early on, and Ed, more than anybody, I think really took advantage of that and kind of messed with the players with hiding stuff in the game.
Yeah, I remember somebody found one of Sonya's moves, and I foolishly changed it because I read it on a news group, thinking, yeah, I got the best of that.
And they did some devious things to keep a lot of those things secret. I think there was a revision of Mortal Kombat 2 where they just arbitrarily changed all the fatalities because everyone figured them out too fast. And it's maybe the most devious and mean thing they've ever done.
I remember thinking at that point, yeah, this internet thing has gotten... You can't defeat it. It's just too powerful.
One of the fun things about going to an arcade was, a lot of people didn't have the internet just yet. So people would show up with their copy of their FAQ. Once I was there and I saw someone with my guide, like my FAQ, and I was like, oh, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, the guy who wrote it sold it to me. And I was like, what do you mean sold it to you? I wrote it.
We had a Mortal Kombat comic book that John drew, and we were the ones stuffing the envelopes, and we started writing messages to players. Sonya has a slide move, She didn't have a slide move. Within a week, I was at, it was like Galen North or something arcade, and some guy was playing Sonya, just keep trying these things. And one of the guys said, what are you looking for? And he goes, I'm looking for Sonya's slide move, Poor guy was, looking for it. But we were just adding fuel to that fire.
Most of those secrets went unknown to me until much later in life when walkthroughs on YouTube became a thing. And I was like, whoa, I totally missed a lot of stuff in a lot of games.
So to us, secrets were basically replay value. And that was the most important thing for us. Having more to do with the game, having more to discover, more to enjoy.
We love the idea of, just this question mark over the game. What else is in there that nobody else has found? And it just made the game that much more mysterious, right?
Excellent. The power of secrets win. Who doesn't like a good secret in the video game or two? Mortal Kombat version. What? Let me see what we work on. Oh yeah, I remember that arcade. It looked like just like that. Oh yeah. Okay, where we are? We still at Mortal Mania. This on the Game Boy. Oh, I did this before. Let me see, this one I'm supposed to be inside of Mortal Mania, so this is where I left off. Let's run it, hold on. Oh my God. Talking about the Game Boy, have you seen these games? Yeah, I did, that was my favorite. That Super Nintendo and the arcade. I used to love it on Super Nintendo.
So
I know how to get blood on Super Nintendo with the game Genie.
Impressed by it. I think I finished it once, picked Zangief because I was a wrestling fan, and then kind of moved on. I eventually kind of fell in with a crowd that really got a lot out of Street Fighter 2, and so suddenly it became very apparent I need to get great at that game. One guy showed up and said, "Hey, have you heard of this other game, Mortal Kombat?" I'm like, no. What is Mortal Kombat? And he said, "Well, it's like Street Fighter, but you can fucking kill people." Okay, well, we need to go see this game right now.
I absolutely remember the first time I played Mortal Kombat. It was at Lions Family Fun, my favorite arcade.
My dad would usually give my brother and me $5 each and let us run wild while he went shopping.
I was at an arcade in Virginia.
The Q Lounge in the Bronx, New York. It was a space that was half smoky pool hall, half arcade.
He took us to an arcade 2 towns north, up to Santa Rosa. There was a place called Systems City. And it was like part skate shop, but in the back room, all the lights were off, and they had like 5 arcade machines back there.
I see this huge crowd gathered around a new cabinet.
And it was sitting there. There was nobody around it.
No one was playing it. It was just sitting there. What is this?
I just remember just like a big line around the cabinet.
Everyone is crowded around Mortal Kombat. It is simultaneously exactly like and nothing like Street Fighter. You know, the film, the presentation, the real actors and actresses and all of that really just, it's so striking.
In Mortal Kombat, when you're seeing those two big characters on the screen, I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Instantly, it was like, oh, it's digitized, it's real people. It was like, wow, this is incredible. It's like, how are they doing this? How did this game come to be?
I was blown away by how it looked.
Because it was a violent, bloody game.
Like, that's the first time I've seen blood in a video game that I remembered.
Even from a basic high punch, you just see blood flying out of these people's heads.
Liu Kang wins.
Even if I couldn't do the specials of certain characters, I could fall into a rhythm that just felt so good. Just like, you know, air kick, uppercut. And I was, I feel like the baddest motherfucker in the world.
In a time where you didn't see that kind of stuff in games, and especially in arcades where kids were, you know, running around with their parents, and parents were still freaking out too, kind of seeing what was happening.
My dad came up behind me. I didn't know this at the time, but the screen went dark. Kano ripped out a heart and held it up, blood dripping from it. And my dad went, "Oh, no, 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 no," and whisked me out of the arcade. And that's when I knew I had to play that game, because I was not allowed to play that game.
People getting chopped in half and torsos being dismembered.
Liu Kang wins. Flawless fatality.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that in a video game. I didn't know that was allowed in a video game.
And we're, you know, 16, 17 at the time, so this is the most exciting thing in the world.
The endings and how every character had, even though Street Fighter, they had an ending, but Mortal Kombat was like the first thing that really affected me, that was like, I really want to play all these characters to see what happens. And this is before YouTube, so it wasn't like you could just go on YouTube and watch it. You had to, you know, earn it, right?
What's Kano's backstory? You know, what about Sonya? That's what we wanted to know about. And, you know, they specified a lot of it kind of in, you know, various screens and whatnot. You know, we were hooked.
But it didn't take long from there for that game to be literally everywhere. Every single pizza place, 7-Eleven arcades, the arcades that were left at that point, all of them had a Mortal Kombat machine probably within a month.
Okay, we just seen that, so let's moving on. Chapter 2, gaming before the internet. Mortal Kombat, the comics. It's pretty cool. Hold on, let's go through some of those. Oh, it's moving pretty fast. I had to go back a little bit. Let the tournament begin. I used to draw those little pictures when I was a kid. 16-bit wars. I don't know which version was better back in the day, Sega or Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, back to one of them dope commercials back when we was little. Oh man. That also remind me of that intro from Sega's CDs, Mortal Kombat game. That was pretty dope. Let me see what else we working with, y'all. Prepare yourself. Okay, that was on magazines. They just showing you how hot Mortal Kombat was for real. Mortal Monday. Let's go.
The first time I saw a crowd gathered around a Mortal Kombat,
and there was crowds, and he's
told me
he telling
that,
being real. There was a lot of people.
This game is a big deal at my arcade. I had no idea if that translated outside my arcade. Then Mortal Monday happened. Not just the day itself, but the build up to it.
Seeing the zeitgeist around it was huge. Conversations around Mortal Monday were happening, the first kind of big marketing push.
Acclaim was clearly, they knew what they had in their hands, and so they were doing a much bigger effort in promoting it. I remember them telling us that they were going to spend $10 million to advertise this game. And I remember saying, you know, are you sure you want to put that kind of money behind this? And you know, in retrospect, of course, that was a right decision. But I remember being really paranoid thinking, you know, that they were putting a lot on this game.
The preparation for the release of Mortal Kombat was just massive. I was working at Babbage's Software. Pre-sales had started early, so like we knew we were going to be just selling out. It was all I could talk about.
I remember going to see a movie, I can't remember which film it was, and they were advertising Mortal Mondays, which was one of the greatest marketing blitzes in video game history. And it was just, you know, all these random kids yelling in the middle of a city street, Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat, right?
That commercial with like people running down the street screaming Mortal Kombat, and they were teens, and I was a little kid, and teens are the coolest thing you could be when you're a little kid.
You don't have to show screenshots or anything else necessarily. Everybody knew. All you have to do is just have somebody out in the middle of the street just putting up his arm saying Mortal Kombat. It's almost like, hi, it's here. It sells itself.
We were all like, yo, did you see that Mortal Kombat commercial? What is Mortal Kombat? And there was always like one kid who knew a little more. It's a video game, but you kill people. And all of us at Maplewood Elementary School were like, whoa!
We had 2 front monitors that were just showcasing Mortal Kombat videos. And
in the comics, on the back of the comics, there were Mortal Monday ads. There were Mortal Kombat ads in magazines. There were Mortal Kombat ads in subways.
You know, just seeing the standees and the posters and things at Times Square and
the signage that was coming in, every piece of memorabilia that was coming in, and t-shirts, and it was just over the top compared to other games.
I remember just being nervous about it, thinking, I hope this game lives up to it. Even though it was a huge arcade game, you know, you just never know in the fall.
It was insane. There was a giant line, and it was just so exciting.
That's when I realized, like, this is actually a bigger deal than maybe any video game that's come before it. Mortal Kombat became a pillar of popular culture within 12 months. It was, I think, the fastest a video game had ever exploded to date.
Nothing could prepare you for it. It was, it was just insane.
Insane is correct. We must move on for Mortal Monday. Oh yeah, that's pretty dope. It's like a Genesis one. Oh man, hold on. Dang, look at that. Can we zoom this in? I'm trying to get it from the side. Oh. I don't know, but that's dope. I do remember this. 1 or 2 players. That's how the cases look back there, y'all. Wow, this is dope. Okay. And they also give you the option to play. Oh, I didn't know I could go down. Hold on, I missed out on a lot of the documentaries then. Oh my gosh, because I gotta do this. Obviously, they want us to 100% it. Who's gonna mail these things? John Tobias and Roger Sharp recalled the creation of Mortal Kombat promotional comic and highest surprise success led to I'm Proud to Pizza Parties.
The idea to produce a comic book for the first MK game, that started with me. Coming from comic books, I had a great desire to sort of tell this story that we weren't able to tell in the game. And so I thought, what better place to do it in a comic book? I talked to Ed about it, and so Ed thought it was a great idea, and I think the both of us went to Roger Sharp to try to see if there was any money that we could get from marketing to help us produce this comic book.
I tried to always do stuff that I thought would be special. And John, pulled together, here's a comic book.
I wasn't getting paid anything extra to draw this comic, so I wrote the story and did the illustrations. Roger was able to scrape up, I think, a few $1,000s for the printing, and we were able to produce a few thousand copies of this comic, and we weren't sure how many we were going to sell. There was an advertisement in the game, and players would see the advertisement in the track mode, and they would mail in a check for $3. Sometimes they would mail cash. Ed and I would get bags of envelopes, sent to a P.O. box, and they would ship us these boxes of comics. Okay, well, who's gonna pack and mail these things? And so there was nobody to do that. So Ed and I ended up sitting in his office with boxes of comics. We were the ones opening each envelope, collecting the money, writing the addresses on the envelopes, packing the comics, and mailing them all out. I remember we did that one weekend. It was just Ed and I. And then we decided, we invited other people around the office, like, hey, come and help us pack the comics, and we'll buy a pizza. Every once in a while I would sign one. We would write these weird encryptions on the envelopes. Sometimes I would draw a picture on the envelope, little messages to the players. I don't know if anybody ever saved any of that stuff. Eventually, I think we were in over our heads because the stuff just kept coming.
And sales took off. We had to go back in and reprint the comic book.
And then eventually Roger, I think, handled, I don't know who he paid to do the packing and the mailing and stuff.
We were packaging and boxing up, thank you, Jeanette and Alice, to get everything out to people.
But the first, I think, few thousand comic books were hand packed and hand addressed by Ed and myself and a couple of the other folks around the office.
And that was the start of the merchandising program for Mortal Kombat.
Let's go. Wow, this is a lot. From the comic, from the games to the comic. Okay, I guess that's it. I didn't know that. Let's see what I missed over here. Countdown sweepstakes. In September. Wow, they got the papers on her, y'all. They getting pretty deep with us. They ain't playing the pit. Let me see more about the pit. Claim news. Man, that was making the news. The pit. Early game development updates mirror public signs of the day claim sample. Dang. To request it. Wow. So, okay. So I go down right here, September 13th. I remember this stuff though. So we already did the Mortal Monday. We did that because I looked at the game. Let me check this out because I ain't seen this since back then. Oh yeah, this was dope. Look at that. That looked hard. That's what you see is what you got. Music was dope too. Sega Game Gear. Oh, I did have this on the Game Gear. Let's go. We're gonna move on. Game Boy too. Yup. Game Boy was dope. What is this? Game Boy what? Oh, why is it on? A lot of advertising. This is ill. Germany. Dang. Choose your fighter. Let's see what this
Mustard and myself grew up in a really small town. The closest thing you would have to an arcade machine is the local bowling alley may have had like a light gun game, but that's pretty much it. It was only the home versions that allowed us to experience the different franchises, and I feel like I unofficially speak for quite a lot of people our age, how important getting those home versions as good as they were was. So that the rest of us could still experience it in different parts of the world, the arcades weren't as common, especially those small towns.
Which side was I on in the home versions? There's only one side. Like, what do it's just the Genesis version. There's only one version of the game. The Super Nintendo version is a travesty by comparison.
I actually thought that even though the Genesis was a little behind graphically than the Super Nintendo, I liked the grittier look of the Genesis version. It really felt kind of down and dirty the way Mortal Kombat showed.
I mean, also the Genesis version had the blood code. And the real fatalities and the Dullard code and all the other cool stuff in it. I think that made up for like the music in the Genesis version being really hokey and some of that other stuff.
My friend had a Genesis. They got Mortal Kombat. His mom would come in every now and then just to look at the screen to make sure there was no blood flying.
Finish him.
And so what we would do is we would enter the blood code, we'd play a match or two, and then we'd hit reset, turn off the blood code, keep playing when she came in, and then she'd leave and we'd turn the blood code back on.
Nintendo screwed the pooch when they didn't allow the blood in the game, and they instead put sweat in it, which the Genesis version outsold the SNES version like 3-1 or something like that. Everybody wanted the violence, they wanted the blood.
The Super Nintendo version feels like mud. Like the act of playing that game is so unlike playing the actual arcade game.
So I really wanted Mortal Kombat. Not just to fit in, but because I loved it. I wanted it so bad, but my family didn't have a ton of money. So I scraped together all the money I had, and I was able to finally afford Mortal Kombat for the Game Boy. And that game is a experience. When you play Mortal Kombat in the arcade, it's a little bit heavy and you feel the power of those hits. Mortal Kombat on the Game Boy moved like two frozen people were slowly trying to get close enough to hug. Like when you'd push the punch button, it would eventually move the fist forward a little bit at maybe 1 frame per minute. I cannot do a fatality in this game. I know for a fact they exist because the computer can do the fatalities on that pit level. Instead of having them fall off the stage onto spikes, at the end of each part of the level were just little drawn spikes in the background that you could knock them onto. And I think that was their makeshift solution for having a stage-based fatality. Even as a kid, I knew it was not the best version, but I loved it so much. I even put in a Game Genie code that let you play as Goro. I did every secret possible. I was going to squeeze every single dollar I put into that game. And I still own it, and I'll still play it occasionally because I'm kind of a masochist. But there's something special about it. There's something that's kind of pure about a Mortal Kombat game that's so weird and watered down and slow that it almost circles back around to being kind of creepy and mysterious.
I mean, they may not have been arcade perfect, but to us, we didn't know any better. We didn't have anything to comparison. All we cared about was just, play the game, have fun with it, enjoy what we were doing, and that was about it.
Okay, that was dope, because I had that on both systems. So yeah, combat on the dance floor. What they talking about, Willis? Oh, that's Mortal Kombat. Okay, that's what's up. Mortal Kombat mechanics. Electronic 3D combat game. Punch and kick. I remember them. The head pop up. Tiger Electronics. What's this? Ultimate Fighting Machine. What is this? Battle tested in combat with every combatant seeking the edge in battle. A company called Trice promises turbocharged 360 controller will make executing a special move faster. Oh, okay, I understand now. Unique directional touch sensor. Yup. Come on, y'all, let's go. I'm just checking all this out before I get into the game. Mr. Scorpion goes to Washington as more parents express concern over the graphic nature of the game being played in their living rooms. American politicians mobilized to bring awareness to the issue. Yo, yeah, this game created a lot of chaos back in the day. For real. I can't zoom in with that. Wow. Liberman and Cole. December 9th, 1993. Hold on, it was going down about this game, Mortal Kombat, y'all. It was serious. Dang, describing Mortal Kombat, blood splatters from contestants' heads, and when the players wins, the so-called death sequences begins. The game narrator instructed the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent. Joseph Lieberman, former U.S. Senator. Let's watch this video, because y'all, this is deep. I'm learning about I love Mortal Kombat, so all of this, I'm really enjoying this documentary. So, man, let's see what this is talking about.
From the contestants' heads.
You dang on right.
Whoever wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent.
Oh, yes, finish him. Inaccurate evidence. 60 seconds of Mortal Kombat arcade gameplay was shown on the videotape, but identified as Sega Genesis full arcade blood was visible and 2 fatalities were shown. By contrast, the Super NES footage that followed featured no fatalities and only lasted 10 seconds. Dang. Expert witness. It says, experts who offered testimony to the communities included Bill White from Sega and Howard Lincoln from Nintendo. The hearings ended with a vow from the game industry to create a rating system that will be implemented by the end of 1994. And this is the guy who tried it. Let's go, y'all, because Mortal Kombat was my stuff. Dang, chapter 2 is getting deep because that was on the news. Y'all was some bad boys. Man. Y'all 4 dudes, man, whatever. That's crazy. Let's go. The Video Games Rating Act of 1994. In February, Senator Lieberman introduced Bill S. 1823, called the Video Games Rating Act of 1994, to provide for the establishment of the Interactive Entertainment Rating Commission. That is the ERC. Oh, ERC. Okay, let's go. And for other purposes, the message was clear. If the industry could not or would not regulate itself as other industries already had, the government was prepared to step in. Wow. They had bills and all of this stuff on them. Let's go. Ready to act. A bill passed. Jeez. Dang, Mortal Kombat, the game industry rally. The second hearing was held on March 4th, 1994 to give the game industry a chance to show their progress since December. Senator Lieberman and Cole seemed pleased when representatives from Nintendo, Sega, and Electronic Arts laid out an ambitious plan to have a rating system implemented by year's end. Enter the ESRB. The International Software Association was formed in April 1994. So these are the people who rate games. They got formed. Why is that? Because of Mortal Kombat? Is this what I'm seeing? Is this the information that I'm getting? I didn't know that, so this is dope. 5 category: early childhood, kids to adults, K to A. These are the video game ratings for those who look at the ratings on video games before you buy them for your children. Teens, mature, and adults only were accepted as an industry standard in June 1994 with minor revisions. The system is still in use today. Wow, that came because of Mortal Kombat in 1994. Let's go. Let's check out the impact. Thanks to its high-profile success, Mortal Kombat accidentally became emblematic of violent video games. However, the controversy will lead to positive and lasting change. Here, both developers and players discuss the critical moment in gaming history.
Video games were becoming more and more sophisticated, maturing.
It was around that time that we were realizing that video games aren't just for kids. The manufacturers of the home consoles still kind of thought of them that way. It's like, hey, this is a toy for kids.
We never made Mortal Kombat for 6-year-olds or anything like that. That was never the intention. 4 guys in their 20s, what kind of video game are they going to make?
In our minds, we were creating the game for a certain demographic of player.
Fans of Terminator, Bloodsport, Alien, Predator, you know, all these movies. It was a game by guys in their 20s, 4 guys in their 20s. And nobody mentioned anything during the arcade days.
Once the game came home on the consoles, it came into people's living rooms, that was a shocker to the moms and dads of suburbia.
Blood splatters from the contestants' heads. When a player wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent.
My parents were very worried about the violence in Mortal Kombat because eventually they saw the news stories. They saw the news stories that were like, you could rip out someone's spine or you could light them on fire. Like, I had a friend who was not allowed to go to another friend's house because he had played Mortal Kombat with him.
And we also really didn't see a lot of animated blood in video games back then. It seems so commonplace today.
What is the difference in between this and violent movies? Why is it different?
No one's looking at movies in the same way as they're looking at video games.
Rock music before it, and comics and heavy metal.
You know, I grew up at a time Elvis Presley's body was blacked out from the waist down because he was gyrating, and God only knows what that's going to do to today's youth.
I do think that there was a number of kind of politicians and other people who were looking for a scapegoat. Kind of this was it. It came along at the right time.
Kano wins. Flawless victory. It was just like, video games are bad, and these are the ones doing it. I think the thing that made me most angry about it was it just felt like no one involved in any of this had ever actually played a video game or seen this stuff outside of very carefully selected footage.
It was like fairly kind of innocuous, and it was like kind of cartoon violence.
And yeah, it seems violent, but ultimately it's really just funny.
Yeah, it's like Evil Dead, isn't it?
The very idea that like Mortal Kombat was somehow going to destroy society or the fabric of our youth or anything was always ridiculous.
These home games had no system of ratings, right? Like a CD would say explicit lyrics or something. A movie would say rated R for violence or, you know, whatever. And I think, to me, that was the fundamental issue. Somebody noticed and somebody objected to it, and we certainly didn't disagree with it.
And so I think that the reaction from Congress and everything at the time almost, to me, felt appropriate.
Yeah, I'd say having the conversation about violence in video games and ratings in video games ultimately is something that was going to happen sooner or later. Is the industry going to be able to self-regulate, or is the government going to have to come in and do a bunch of really dumb things?
I think that the rating system helps people make more informed decisions about what they're buying, and that included Mortal Kombat. If you're a parent who bought their kids games, they probably shouldn't have been playing Mortal Kombat unless you could supervise them. It was the next step in the maturity of the industry, and the rating system was kind of emblematic of that. It was a way to say, hey, here's this type of game, here's the type of content, make your own choice.
You know, the rating system and stuff that came from it felt like the right choice, you know, to make.
I think that if video games were like a squalling infant that was just learning how to crawl, Mortal Kombat got them toddling on their feet.
Wow. Very, very, very big. Excellent impact. ready for round 2. Success often means a sequel, and Mortal Kombat was no exception. Entering a new development cycle, the team at Midway focused on new characters, improved technology, and even more extreme finishing moves for a sequel worthy of the phenomenon. Test Your Might, Chapter 3. That's pretty dope. With the first game still earning tons quarters in the arcade, in the home game selling in record numbers, the Mortal Kombat team quickly began work on a superpowered sequel. Performance captures Ed Boon and John Tobias, Carlos Tecino, Hosam Pang, and Anthony Marquez with performance stunts that digitalize the player's moves into the final game. Jackson's yellow outfit. In this silent video, John Parrish performs a pivoting punch in Jackson's original yellow outfit, which closely resembled John Tobias' concept art. First time seeing him in this outfit. I never seen this. I never knew nothing about it. It's pretty dope to me, y'all. I love this for real. That back punch. Let's go. We're gonna go down some more. Oh, Melina side attacks. Performer Kaylin Zemayer gets direction from Ed Boon on how to wield Melina's side, after which John Tobias adjusts the angle of Katana's fans. Let's go. Man, this is pretty dope. Wow. John Tobias, so young Katana. But today, in these times, she is 10,000 years old. Superhuman. Look at her. Superhuman strength, all of that. Similar to Wonder Woman. But older. An Adenian. That's exactly what she is. Okay. Oh, she was doing the signs and all of that too. So Ed Boon, dang, you were showing her. That's pretty dope. Oh my gosh, Ed Boon. And that work down in Mortal Kombat. Still a success game to this day. Wow. I'm glad all of this is on here so I can really see the history, because I was a Mortal Kombat freak as a kid and fan. I used to draw the pictures of the characters. Oh, that's that fatality, Melina's fatality. Y'all got the fan in there. Oh yeah. Getting hot up in there. All that moving going on. Let me see. That's pretty dope. Wow. That's hard. That's exactly how she doing it. That's dope. So we just got to see what it was and what it do. That's the game. You feel me? Baraka's blades. Richard Divisio records Baraka walk and thrusting blade attacks with guidance from Ed Boon. There is no audio for this video. It's okay. Let me see that. I want to see how it worked and how it went down. This is so dope to me, man. Let's see. Wow. That Baraka walk. Look how dope Baraka looked though. I know the teeth was fingernails they made. It's pretty cool. Wow. Those pictures in there. Dang, look at them blades. Them was big nasty blades. Baraka, what was you doing, man? You gotta understand where you at with all of that, dog. You doing too much. That's too much sauce for real. Oh my gosh. Didn't he be doing that chop? That dude be hungry for human meat. Like that girl, Melina. They got that Tarkatan blood. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I know what's going on, but I ain't gonna tell y'all. You gonna have to figure it out. Oh my God. No. That backhand, you know what it was, Airborne. You already had the vision. Let's go. You put it. Bow. I like how you did that backhand, though. That's how you do it on the game. Baraka lay it down. Baraka wins. Man. That's dope. Dang. There was a lot of work put into this game. Look at that. Let's do that throw. Yeah, there we go. He stretched that out. Wow. Oh, that bicycle kick, Liu Kang takes his seat. Oh yeah, this is how the bicycle kick was done. Okay. Now the secret can be revealed to perform Liu Kang's signature bicycle kick. Martial artist Ho-Sung Pak needed to balance while leaning back on a chair. The silent clip includes Airborne demonstrating a dramatic throw. Let's check this out. Oh man, that bicycle kick was iconic. It was pretty dope back in the day. Flying kick was too. Well, when the bicycle kick came on Mortal Kombat 2, when that came in the game, it was just something different. There you go. Dang, that's how you did that, dog. You was killing them. Y'all know what he said. Okay. I see you. Liu Kang wins. Flawless victory. Haha. Dang. Let's go. Pretty cool. Kung Lao defeated. The silent excerpt from Anthony Marquez's performance capture sections includes Kung Lao's kicks, ducks, and John Tobias' demonstration of exactly how Kung Lao corpse should collapse. Yeah, that kick was tight. He had to show them even how they're supposed to die on the game and all of that. Come on, let's go. Dang. So, it's pretty cool. Them Kung Lao moves is hard. Hey. Dang. Kung Lao. Let's do this. No. Yeah, that's pretty dope. I like that. That hat was deadly. Oh man. That hat was deadly. That was pretty cool. Performance capture. Another mysterious foe. Who could be bigger and better than Goro? John Tobias designed Kintaro, a new 4-arm menace built and animated by John Vogel. These detailed photos of the Kintaro model were taken by Vogel in 2013. Let me see that. That's pretty dope. Yeah, Kintaro was, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I remember fighting this dude and seeing him with the tiger back for the first time. That was deep. Let me see. The sound of perfection. Oh yeah, y'all had some dope sound back then. I was so deep into that. Mortal Kombat 2 was the first video game to use Midway's digital compression system for audio, moving away from FM synthesis. Soundtracks were instead created by carefully arranging samples across from channels of audio. DCS remained the standard on Midway arcade games as well as William and Bally pinball machines through the early 2000s. It's pretty cool. Selling the sequel. Midway usually created a promotional video for each of its arcade games for sales and marketing used at trade shows. The Mortal Kombat 2 promo reel takes a victory lap for the first game with a very animated narrator exclaiming, "We've created a monster," before teasing the news game's futures. Let's check this video out. A Test Your Might and all of that from 1993. Let's see what it be. Excellent. Midway.
Once in a lifetime, a game comes along that transcends our industry. The theme connects with something deep inside us and embeds itself firmly in the popular culture. Once in a lifetime, a game takes on a life of its own. To millions worldwide, it becomes more than just a video game. It becomes an obsession, a controversy. And they just can't wait to take it home. We've created a monster! Actually, we've created several. What if we could outdo our previous successes? What if we could create a new fighting machine? One that eclipsed every fighting game ever made. One with more depth and more characters. What if, amidst all the furor and recognition, we could release to the world the ultimate fighting experience? We can, and we will, right now. Kombat 2. More characters, 3 times more images, more secret moves, more battlegrounds, more hidden surprises. And it's the first video game to feature our crystal clear DCS sound. These are the 12 combatants. Each possesses an array of special strengths. Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Reptile, Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung, Kitana, Jax, Melina, Baraka, Scorpion, and Raiden. Get to know these characters, because when it comes to fighting for profits, they're all in your corner. Mortal Kombat 1 has started an unstoppable global fire, and notoriety has fanned the flames. The world's players have embraced these characters, and they're begging us for more. Never before has a game been so perfectly poised for such massive success. What was a roaring blaze will now become a raging inferno of profit. Get ready to feel the heat of Mortal Kombat 2. The world's ultimate fighting machine.
Ultimate. Yo, what's up? Yeah, that was a test your mic. And we had to come back seconds for the promotional flyer for Mortal Kombat 2. I remember that. Oh yeah. That's dope. Wow, okay, there we go. Yeah, I remember that. Mortal Kombat 2 arcade. Definitely remember the first time seeing that. That was dope. I look under the hood. Mortal Kombat 2. Look at my boy Shao Kahn. I remember now, yeah, because I remember seeing Shao Kahn with his mask off. Oh yeah, it's pretty dope. Boy Johnny Cage in that outfit on Mortal Kombat 4, 007, what I called it. Dang, they got the whole comic book up in here. Wow. Yep, because we need the little scenery and stuff at the end. The shirt, that's dope. So we'll meet you in Goro's lair. Triple the Secrets. Smoke, Jay, the new Save Bot. Yep, that's when they came in Mortal Kombat 2. I remember the tennis game, you win 250 games in a row. Yep, got a chance to play Mortal Kombat tennis on there. That's pretty cool. For real, so yeah. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, I used to tell them you can play, what is it, the name, tennis? What is this, pinball or something? I don't know. Tennis, I guess it was. Wow, that's pretty cool. Come on. cutting room floor. Dang, it was a lot. What? Johnny Cage's fatality fist. Powerful punch. Wow, they let you get in here deep, man. Look at that. That's pretty dope. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it. Pretty cool. Let's go. Shao Kahn's portal punch. Which one is that on? Magical? Was somebody giant was apparently attending the fatality move of Shao Kahn. I don't know now. I don't remember that. Liu Kang's double knee, the combination move. Knee and kick didn't make it into Liu Kang's attacks. Oh, so that didn't make it. That's pretty dope. Let's see what that is. Wow, but that's a dope move though. Liu Kang already was vicious. What's that? No, he ain't got that. These are back fists. What's that? 2 videos. Baraka sword kick. Baraka's. That's dope. Baraka sword kick move that never was in the game. That's pretty cool. Wow. Shang Tsung's flip punch. Let me see that. Yeah, he was already deadly. That right there, shh, that would have been adding fuel to the fire, y'all. For real. Kentaro's alternate walk. Yeah, that's beastie right there. He was on one. Like, boom, saw is ready. On one. Let me see. Air projectile. Reptile. Sub-Zero. Oh, man. That would have been dope. Oh, man. So, if Reptile would have had this right here, that would have been so raw. Let's go. For real. Hang in there, baby. I believe that we're going to hang bodies from chains and they did pull lower them into the acid, lift the skeletons, recollection as they cut to save the memory John Tobias. That's messed up. Oh my gosh. I see him back there. I see Ed Boon. Devote them people making the games pretty dope. Besides Tony Golski's additional background artwork for the tower stage with trim for memory limitations. This was supposed to be a stage. Let me see. No. Unused names. Some of the names are Hat Boy, Knockout, Sabot, Noob. Pretty dope stuff right there for you. So we're gonna move on to the next. Shocking the fans. With many players obsessed with the home version of the original game, some fans didn't expect to see full sequel arrive in arcades so quickly. Let's see.
Here it is! Mortal Kombat 2! More characters! 3 times more images! More secret moves!
The coolest thing about Mortal Kombat 2 is I didn't know it was coming out.
I knew it was probably being worked on, and there were just rumors floating about.
I never even thought of a sequel. I was so fixated on the first game.
I had no idea. Nobody at my school had mentioned it.
It wasn't until I walked into it was an arcade called Uncle Bob's, and there it was already.
The first thing I saw was somebody slicing someone in half with Kung Lao's hat. And I remember being like, what? There's a Mortal Kombat 2, and it is crazy!
A friend came running into band class one day and said, oh, there's a Mortal Kombat 2. I saw this new character. He's a monster. He's got knives for hands.
Baraka was the first character I picked. I kept pumping quarters in. It was so exciting to see the advancements and the new characters.
There is a specific reason that Mortal Kombat 2 is my absolute favorite game in the entire series. And that is because of Katana's easiest in the world fatality. Walk up to the person and hit block, 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 high kick.
Katana wins
I was immediately a master of her.
Fatality.
I still main Melina whenever I play MK2. I can do that back down, low punch to do that kind of roll thing, and then forward, low kick to do that kind of teleport from the ceiling kind of thing.
It looked bigger, it looked better, it looked badder, it was bloodier. The animation was more fluid. It looked like a comic book, and that's not something I ever thought I would ever want from a Mortal Kombat game.
Sub-Zero wins. Fatality.
But like I said, I never even dreamed of a sequel. One day there it was, and it was fantastic.
The favorite characters are back, so you have kind of that step into it. The excitement was just incredible.
I remember seeing Mortal Kombat 2. It's the level that has it Shao Kahn, the big bad guy, who had the people chained up on the pedestals in the background. You were fighting your opponent, but there was a sense of storytelling in the actual level design, and that was one of the first times I had seen that and been like, that's really cool and that's really, really clever.
And I still bought the Game Boy versions, just because Game Boy was the system I played the most. And what's interesting is that Mortal Kombat 2 for the Game Boy is fantastic. It is an amazing fighting game port. It's an amazing fighting game for a portable system with no power.
I played a ton of Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo. I would have friends over. My living room kind of became a mini arcade. All the blood and gore was there, and it was fantastic.
Fatality.
It felt pretty darn close to arcade perfect. So haha, that time Nintendo came out on top.
Raven wins. Fatality.
Okay, let's go. Shocking the fans with many players obsessed with the home version of the original. Already read that. We already boom, bye, bye, bang, bang, bang. Coming home, uncensored Adam's Play successfully rescued the Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, this is my version of the game. I used to love it. Let's go. Let's see what they got to say. Yeah, that was it. I had 2 copies of that.
And that's where we really made the right decisions, which was nice. The idea was to just convert the code line by line and build the multi-processing system so it would work on the Super Nintendo, which of course is a different language of assembly.
Finish.
We, I think, started, is November, somewhere like that, in 1993. We had to be done in July, and so we didn't show them anything until April. Just got our first pass of Mortal Kombat 2 for the SNES. Wow. The entire video department here at Midway is absolutely blown away at how well you have matched the feel of our arcade version on Mortal Kombat 2. We can already see that this will be the version to have as the graphics and gameplay are awesome. So we just continued down that road, got the game done on time, and it scored really high. I had some magazines, gave it 5 stars, and it was a nice project. I did think that it was done a lot better. They could ship a game that was more like the arcade, as much as we could get it anyway. Put the rating on it and not have to have green blood.
Johnny Cage wins.
I don't know if the Genesis guys would debate me, but I felt like it was the de facto version for at least Mortal Kombat 2.
And the ongoing debate that still sort of seems to rage on up to the present day, like between the SNES version and the Genesis version. SNES version is perceived as being like the winner, it's the better version. And that's like, I think, largely because it's like more complete version. The reason the SNES one has got more stuff than ours, because they're like both made for the same size sort of cartridge, is that it's a lower resolution system, right? So therefore their art assets are smaller, and all the little sort of size differences like add up.
Jax wins.
You end up with space for fatality.
Fatality.
The fact that the speech samples are missing, that's the thing that like kind of stands out to me. The way I got the Genesis version is like a little bit sort of convoluted. Basically, Paul had done the first one, Paul were offered the second one, and they offered it to Paul, which is like kind of logical sort of thing to do, and Paul turned it down.
Idiocy, stupidity. At the time I was offered it, I did think that actually MK2 wouldn't ever come out, that it would be banned. There was a bunch of people in the studio kind of talking about violence and talking about this game, and so I didn't particularly want to spend all that effort on a game that then got banned. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
So then they offered it to me, right? And I'd never done any Mega Drive stuff before. They used to think of this like a cooperative multitasking system. And it's the first time I'd ever like kind of come across it, and like once I like kind of understood it properly, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Basically, I ripped it off. But every game that I wrote subsequent to that, I used that system. Everybody was like kind of happy with the version that I did, and that was no bad thing. I mean, it's just like a really good game, you know. Hard to mess it up.
Okay, that was pretty cool. Coming home uncensored, but let me see what we got down there. Wow. The team discovered some of the NES version they sent home. Congratulatory facts, which remains a cherished memory. Okay. Market at Bliss. It's June what? 23rd. That's what's up. Actually, this is one of my favorites. Nothing can prepare you. Wow. Pretty dope. Oh, man. Let me see the pick 2. Yeah, the pick 2 was something else. Look at the pictures at the bottom. That was dope. Can we zoom in on that? Look at that reptile. Let me screenshot this, though. Yeah. That reptile, Shell Kai, Scorpion, that Sub-Zero. Ooh, that was so hard. That Katana Baraka. Oh, man, I gotta screenshot this, too. The combat cast of Mortal Kombat 2. The top 10 combat questions. It's pretty dope. What arcade version is the home game based upon? What controllers will Mortal Kombat 2 be compatible with? Will Mortal Kombat 2 be available for any other systems besides Nintendo and Sega? Are all the characters in the Game Boy and Game Gear versions? How many megs is the 16-bit version? What secret characters are in the game? Will it have all finishing moves? Will there be a code for the Genesis version? What's the difference between the Nintendo and Sega version? Well, when can we get Mortal Kombat 2? Okay, I just wanted to read that because wow. Kombat. Look at my boy Shell Khan right there. I got to get that old school. Yo, what's up? Let me see. Sorry about that. I got to get the screenshot. Look at that picture of Shell Khan. That's what I meant to say. I had to get the old school one. Win the arcade game and more. Man, if I was a kid and I could have won the arcade game, a Mortal Kombat 2, oh my gosh. Man, you could have made so much money off of that. For real. Mortal Kombat 2 with better performance than the first game Super NES conversion, and arcade accurate violent sculpture software delivered a more authentic experience to Nintendo gamers, with Mortal Kombat 2 was translated into much higher sales. Numbers don't lie. Also, you had to be 17 for this game. 6 million home versions of Mortal Kombat with Genesis version outselling Super Nintendo. Wow, 3-1. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Dang, this was my game for real. Genesis gamers no longer needed to enter a secret code to enable blood. Mortal Kombat 2 for Sega's 16-bit console featured blood by default, with a VRC rating on MA17 clearly visible on the box cover. 32X, oh yeah. Wow, let me see the 32X version on the back of that. The friendships came on there, babalities. We didn't know what we was in for when Mortal Kombat 2 hit us. Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 Collections Edition. The Sega. Oh, the Sega Saturn cancel port. What? Wow, come on. Mortal Kombat 2 on the Game Boy. 12 characters. Let me see what it looked like on the back though, y'all. This is the whole, really? That's dope. Get ready to run with 2 monster hit games and a major motion picture in development. Mortal Kombat was now a pop culture juggernaut. Now the team at Midway had to figure out how to innovate with the inevitable third installment. Okay. Oh, we must be done with the. Oh man, Chapter 4, Knowledge and Power. The team had come very fast, building 2 industry-changing games as in many years. Now they were ready to really flex their creative muscle. Artistic license, as new tools like 3D rendering and Adobe Photoshop joined the development process. The team made specific artistic choices for Mortal Kombat 3 with an eye toward offering new gameplay. Let's check out this video, y'all. See what it has to offer.
But I really didn't want us to just do the same game with prettier graphics.
We were always trying to one-up what we did. Like, obviously, MK1, we had the, you'd fall into the pit. And that was great. It was always asking the question, well, what can we do next?
Reptile wins.
MK3 was like, now we're going to knock you upwards. Now we're going to knock you downwards.
Right.
Certainly the visual qualities of the backgrounds changed over time quite significantly.
As the story took it, MK3 was based more on Earth.
.3D technology played a part.
I had been learning how to sculpt things in 3D. I created what became the subway, and I showed Ed, I'm like, hey, we could actually just, instead of like going out and videoing stuff and getting things out of books or whatever, or even just drawing them, we could actually build them in 3D with correct lighting and stuff like that, and it could even help us do the parallaxing if we wanted to. He was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, let's go that route. So a lot of the backgrounds, I would kind of build them in 3D, and then Tony would take that and draw on it and dress them up, make them look better from there.
There's a look that's missing. It looked kind of too plastic and toyish and simple, but it was great for a starting point. We would always touch up over it. That would give it its clean look. And one of the backgrounds that we started with 3D was the Soul Chamber. I always like a star in the background, and I just coined the name Soulnado for the souls inside the mouth, and I drew that in deluxe paint, frame by frame.
I did a drawing of this in 3D. You can make it any size and any lighting, any angle you want it. This is it's just ornamental, it's just like kind of a really neat background thing.
We would always in Mortal Kombat put in names, our names, hidden somewhere sometimes. And mainly it was the graveyard.
I'm sure that I probably designed in 3D the tombstones, and Tony probably drew in our names. A lot of that grass, and maybe even putting the background in there, like the sky and stuff. Dave Mikuchich joined our team, and he knew about Photoshop. We hadn't heard about Photoshop. Photoshop was new. He took that city scene with Shao Kahn's fortress in the distance. What I gave was kind of stale. It was very stark. He added like haze and all kinds of cool atmosphere with Photoshop. We started using Photoshop a lot after that.
Once we get the digitized image, it's a lot like painting. And right now we're going through a process where we sort of filter the images through. We'll grab the image and Steve Moran will start and do some Photoshop on the guy, and then we'll hand him over to Tony, who does some touch-up. And then it gets passed over to me, and then I do some of this more detailed touch-up, and then I give it back to Steve, and he kind of separates the different colors and creates the different palettes, and then we give it back to Tony, and he does the final touch-up and stuff and gets it ready for the game. I'm working on a friendship move for Shigoro character, and that's her tentative name. She didn't have a real name yet. The move is she's going to turn around and she's going to pull out sort of plates and little sticks, and she spins the plates and the sticks and balances them on her hand, and she does this with her back towards you.
I remember wanting the characters to be a little bit smaller. The reason I wanted them a little smaller was so they can have more lateral motion to run.
I remember having that conversation in Ed's office, because my first reaction was, wait, we should be getting bigger. It's
right.
Like, what do you mean smaller, The hardware, we can push more stuff, and we should be making them bigger. But it didn't last long. I think once the run button was in, you saw right away the value of the sprinting.
Round one, fight!
I wanted it to be more aggressive. I always felt like our walking was a bit slow, and that really was pushing for the run.
To me, it feels weird when I play MK2. I feel like I'm in molasses. It's like, come on! I just want to move faster. So.
We really loved to see players doing combos, but some players just couldn't uppercut somebody and then jump and then juggle them and do all these kind of. So we wanted something that was a little bit more mechanical, right? Like anybody can do 1-1-2 or something like that. Right, the whole dynamic of the game was just so aggressive. And some people were intimidated by that. It was somewhat controversial. There was a guy who was a tech in our, like where they would build the games. He was looking at it and he goes, I don't know why you added the run button, I don't know what that. And then, fast forward 3 weeks. He actually came by and said, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, man. That thing was cool.
Outstanding. Okay, no Mortal Kombat 3. I remember. Wow, Shiva. That's dope. Dang. Real characters carrying style. Let's see what it be.
One day I was in the office at Playboy downtown Chicago, and the phone rang. It was Jack Hager, and he was looking for a couple cheerleaders for this game called NBA Jam. I had no idea how to cheerlead. I said I could, but I had no idea. It was great working with everybody, and then Jack invited me on to the next game, which was Revolution X. We were trying to develop Mistress Helga. He had an idea. He wanted to be like this mistress, in leather. And I said, well, I got some ideas, and I put a black wig on and put my Harley Davidson jacket on and black stretch pants. He added chains and put some labels on it, and he was just like, perfect. And then that is how Mistress Helga developed. That was a blast. And then I just started working with Midway, game after game, and they said that they needed a new Sonya and asked me if I'd like to do it, and I said, absolutely.
I think John one time was just walking by me in a hallway. He's like, "Hey Sal, you feel like being a character for Mortal Kombat 3?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
By the time we got to Mortal Kombat 3, we had a complete blue screen studio, professional lighting, professional cameras, a green room, dressing rooms for the actors.
Hey, get out of here, man.
Jack Hager put that all together. It was phenomenal.
Each capture session was 2 to 3 days. John and I would do the lighting. We always consistently had what we called a money light that just was a rim light. And we'd spend a lot of time doing that because there was no going back with the lighting.
Whenever you're making a game, you would record the data and then immediately check it in the tool to make sure the lighting was right, to make sure the size was right, and whatever.
The camera takes in the signal into our beta cam recorder, and we also run a signal into our PC. This is where we do the actual grabbing of frames to be digitized. We're able to click through frame by frame, delete the frames we don't want, keep the frames that we do like.
Once you had all that set, then you could start kind of rolling into the actual moves and then forget about the technical side of it.
When we started filming a character, we'd get into work probably roughly around 10 o'clock, and usually the whole filming process takes all day.
On average day of a 14-hour shoot, we came in, we got into makeup. It didn't take too long for Sonya. She doesn't wear much.
And then we have a list, a huge list of animations, kicks, punches, uppercuts, and then the special moves and stuff. Capturing every single frame of them performing these moves.
Neither Sal nor Carrie had martial arts
background,
right? They were super athletic.
I watched a lot of martial arts. I watched a lot of, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, and I studied like the theatrics of martial arts, but I didn't have the discipline.
Right, and my background was just gymnastics and boxing.
Sonya Blade, there she is. Yeah.
A little bit of WWF wrestling.
Oh, geez. That's no way to begin a demonstration. I think Sonya is in a little trouble here. She's being tied to a dog.
So I was more into the falls and the suplexes and that kind of stuff.
There was this tomboyish quality to her that doesn't come across when you see her.
Yeah.
And then once you work with her, you realize, and holy crap, she's going to do everything we need and more.
Yeah.
Probably the hardest thing about doing any of the moves is you had to start and finish in the same spot.
And that was the main thing, is getting back into idle. They wanted all the follow through. They wanted all the momentum, but they wanted all that power to come all the way through. But then you had to always get back into idle pose, and that was the main thing.
I remember I added like the scrunchie in my ponytail, and we always tried to work together with costuming. They would have like the basic costume, and then they would let the actors kind of bring in a little bit of detail.
Helping John with creating costumes was like this art project. We would go to sports stores and buy like hockey gear and army surplus stores and just buy pieces and hey, that works and put some duct tape on it, and Home Depot has this cool rubber piece that we could use for Sector's helmet, and like it was very do-it-yourself.
But the helmet itself was so back heavy that literally everything that I did was like, it was pulling my head back. And the mask, by doing this, the mask looked like it was looking forward. So I was always kind of doing this with everything, with all my actions.
We wanted it as compact as possible because we didn't want him to look out of proportion.
Yeah.
And so the helmet is really tight.
It must have been torture for, 8 hours or whatever.
That's where your neck problem.
That's why my neck hurts so much.
I think with the Sonya costume, he was just trying to keep everything in when you're bouncing around.
I think my favorite Sal character is still Nightwolf. He just turns into that guy, and like he extends his chin, like he almost like transforms.
Sal, he had no fear. He would just go over the top. He would just insist on trying a move that we were afraid he'd get hurt from.
Throwing himself around.
Yeah, just so committed to it.
You need to look like you're taking pain. You snap your head back, really kind of throw yourself over. And when you fell, you had to look like you were getting hurt. So I would throw myself twisting around as much as I could at a time. Many times I would land, on my neck wrong, land on my back wrong.
Sal would often hurt himself, or not often, but he has a history of hurting himself, trying to get the best performance.
Didn't matter if we were working or if the camera was on or whatever. Like, I just throw my hand out and put my hand on the back of his neck and go wham!
Smack my face into
and
it.
he'd fall back onto the floor, and everybody is like, oh my God.
And in fact, I think her and Sal would have like contests with each other to see who can do what better. It was fun watching those two go at it.
They're still good friends to this day.
So if I was going to hit you hard, I would.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, so it's not the hardness, it's the location.
Reactions. All just in reaction.
I like, so I must keep going and search for more. Oh yeah, my boy Shao Kahn. Yeah, Dell. Yeah. Night Wolf. Let's go. It's my dog. Oh man. The cyborg ninja characters. My boy Mutaro. The centaur, half horse, half human. Fantastic plastic. Manufacturing mystery.
With MK2, we were fully embracing the secret nature of the game.
Smoke, Jade. You have to fight secrets on the portal stage.
Jade were hidden characters.
Noob Cybot.
For MK3, the codes were basically just putting it front and center. Like it wasn't, oh, discover whatever. It was like, here are your secret dials, play with your secret dials.
There's 6 little boxes, 3 of which are controlled by player 1, 3 of which are controlled by player 2. Try different combinations. There's a million possible combinations to see what can be unlocked in the game.
To get the code for Unlimited Run, each player must press low punch 4 times and block and low kick 6 times.
Marketing jumped on that and said, oh, we could do stuff with advertisements and give this magazine these codes and give magazines that code.
By using these symbols, ads will provide clues to codes on MK3 game. It's like a puzzle where one piece is missing. To solve the puzzle, players must go to your location and play the game.
I remember in Mortal Kombat 1 sneaking in Reptile. Reptile was such a big hit that we wanted something in the player's face that was this long string of digits. It encouraged conversation, speculation. When you activated it, from that point on, the game unlocked smoke in the player select screen. And I remember in Mortal Kombat 3 mocking up a purple ninja, and I put the name Rain in there. Purple Ninja, Purple Rain, one of my favorite albums. Just in the attract mode, it wasn't even in the game. I was kind of trolling players and putting like Ermac, Ermac was really just something for me, an audit, like certain stats that you wanted to know, how many times this character was picked, stuff like that. But everybody thought it was a character, so we made him a character.
Oh shit!
Alrighty, so we moving on to the next. No flex. 1995. All right. Okay. Mercy. And the melodies. Oh yeah, the Mortal Kombat 3. That's when they first came with the mercies. And the animalities. And you could run. They had the running on there.
For me,
combos.
The changes in Mortal Kombat 3 were, it was a little jarring in all honesty. I very much like how 1 to 2 went, where it was, it's everything I wanted, and 3 was, the new mechanics were just, it was different.
I think the Mortal Kombat that threw me the most was 3. 2 felt like it took 1 to the extreme. Everything seemed like Mortal Kombat 1, but more. Mortal Kombat 3 felt like almost like a reboot of the franchise in a weird way.
Nightwolf wins.
And for maybe 15 minutes when I first played it, I was like, this isn't Mortal Kombat. I want to go back to Mortal Kombat 2. And then when I realized I could go into like this insane combo that eventually resulted in someone exploding, I was like, oh, I'm back in. This is Mortal Kombat. This is definitely Mortal Kombat.
It wasn't a surprise to see that they wanted to incorporate a little bit of those dial combo type mechanics into that game, because Killer Instinct was really popular.
I think that was the one that introduced the run button, if I recall.
The run button? Oh my god. Like, that changed so much stuff.
The run button I've never gotten used to this day. I just never find the right way to use it. So I never used the run. So I became a little bit more defensive with MK3.
And I remember the moment when someone punched me through a stage and being like, oh, wait a minute, like the game is like breaking its own fourth wall. And that stuff was cool.
Round 2, fight.
Going back to Mortal Kombat 2 after playing Mortal Kombat 3 with the run button was like going back to Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition after playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I could not go back speed-wise. It was so fast, and it felt more aggressive, which is what Mortal Kombat should be.
I got my first speeding ticket racing to go to the arcade before it closed to play Mortal Kombat 3. I was just hauling ass in my 1991 Saturn, which was red, and I thought it was cool. My first car that Jazz Jackrabbit bought me. And, you know, a cop pulls me over. He's like, is everything working okay in this car? I'm like, I guess, officer. He's like, well, what about the speedometer? I guess I hit the run button with the accelerator in my car. I think Ed and John still probably owe me $50 for that ticket.
Yo, somebody tell him that I'm back. I told you this is when the run came and all of that. Animalities, mercies, and it was cool. So let me go ahead and run this one through. Nightmare. What was a nightmare on Mortal Kombat? Okay, I was lost for a second. Then I found John Vogel's home movies. Let's see what's up. That's pretty dope.
Kano, saw you in the video on that.
Saw me in the video?
Yeah, you were working in your office.
Oh, right, yeah, I know, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I'm famous now.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave, what's up? Probably out of focus anyway. Pull away and go higher.
Okay, let's roll. Okay, this is Mortal Kombat 3, and here are 4 of the fighters from Mortal Kombat 3. Our first contestant is... Sonya! Yeah. Sonya Blade, there she is. Yeah. Number 2, Kano. Right. That's Kano. Number 3 is Jax. Yes. Let's go. Yeah. And finally we have Kung Lao. All right, let's hear it for them. They're going to be giving us a little demonstration of martial arts technique. Here we go. We start with Kano and Sonya. Oh, jeez. That's no way to begin a demonstration. Well, I think Sonya is in a little trouble here. She's being tied to a dog. A fate that shouldn't befall anyone. Kano is swelling with pride. He's proud of himself. Who will save Sonya? Who will? Ooh, Kung Lao. Lost his path. Pretty even match. Several punches below the belt there. Ooh, it's Jax. Maybe he'll save Sonya. And Jax saves the day. All right, let's hear it for all of our Mortal Kombat characters. We have Sonya, Kung Lao, Jax, and Kano. Well, we did have Kano. Once we had Kano. Now we have a shell of a man. Let's hear it for him one more time, the Mortal Kombat characters. Thanks, guys. I should let you know that this is the year of Mortal Kombat 3, really. There'll be a lot more than just this game, as if that's not enough. This is really the first element of the year of Mortal Kombat. It begins really today. In addition to this, there will be a making of Mortal Kombat tape that comes out in June. In July, there will be an animated feature that comes out. In August, there will be a feature-length film that comes out from the from the producers of Terminator 2. In September, there will be a live tour that kicks off. It'll go all around the globe and hit more than 200 cities. Also, operators who purchase this game will be getting a free ROM update that will include special new characters, special secret codes, special new backgrounds, and all of that will be coming in September. That will be a free ROM update. But right now, we'll get Ed Boon and John Tobias over here. Hey, Ed, John. And they're going to give us a little demonstration of Mortal Kombat. Ed will explain a little bit more about the codes that we talked about and how those feed everything back into the game.
First, I guess we'll start off with an explanation of the game when you start. A one-player map, you notice here there's 3 towers, 3 different heights, for 3 different degrees of difficulty. You know, a lot of people, some people were so good at Mortal Kombat they would be able to go through the whole game in 1 quarter. Other people couldn't get past the first guy. So we basically set up 3 different levels of difficulty to allow the the player for advancing to higher levels. The tallest one also has a lot more hidden characters and about this one than the previous one, Mortal Kombat 3. Thank you, Kato.
judged by it.
Hey people, what Jim just mentioned, our code system is something. No, actually, here's a fatality. What Jim was just talking about was the code system that we put into the game that you can access through the versus screen in a two-player game. And what these codes do is they enable the player to get to different variations of playing the game. There's all sorts of things like this buried into the game. Again, accessible through the secret codes. And as I was saying, codes are hitting all over the place in our ads. And the motion picture that New Light's putting out, that'll be released in August, and that's a $40 million motion picture.
Mortal Kombat rock!
Well, I guess that's enough for knowledge and power right now. Ooh-wee. But I did learn a lot, man. I appreciate that. I'm out, and I'll be back. And thank y'all for tapping in and checking me out. Peace.